Welcome to episode 13 of It's Server Time. Today we're going to be joined by Scrawny, best known for his work with Montreal Northern Arena 2016, an excellent tournament. Scrawny, I mean, after that tournament, I think you really took off. I think everybody was just all in with the work that you did. Who are you casting with actually for this? I'm actually curious now.
I went to the event. The first person I casted with was Ryu. And then,
Ryu.
And then Launders scoped me from across the room, and he was casting with Van Silly. And for the rest of the event, Launders somehow like shoehorned me into casting alongside him instead. That's why we did like a 3-man finals. Yeah, so
this is also
man, kind of half mo. The what? Sorry.
This is also the Cries free tournament, wasn't it? With Immortals and C9 and that drama.
No, that's the Northern Arena Toronto. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, there's two.
Yeah, man, there's a Toronto one and a Montreal one. This is where Dust did the Conor McGregor down with Smess things. Yeah, the Yole noobs.
Oh, it was Van Silly said it, and then Dust got framed. Actually, that's actually the real story. But obviously, if people don't know Scrawny, I mean, I don't know how you can at this point. If you guys watch Counter-Strike at all, the voice of Blast Premier, one of many voices, we'll say that. And just you've been doing excellent work lately, killing it. Stream's been popping too. I mean, everything's going north for you, just like that arena. So, but we're going to be recapping a bit of Blast. We're going to be talking about what's going on with IEM Katowice, and we got a little bit of news too. So let's get off to the first topic here. I want to talk about Ninjas in Pajamas. I want to talk about NIP. I want to talk about ZTR. I trash talked this guy. Thought he was no good, didn't belong at all. But what'd you guys like out of him? Scrawny, what'd you see from ZTR?
So like to me, ZTR, he was like one of the two notable debuts for the Blast Spring groups, right? The other one being Honda. And I would say like ZTR didn't shock me with how good he was straight out the gate like Honda did. Like Honda had these crazy aces in the first 3 rounds. Like it was like fairy tale levels of debuts. So I think, ZTR had a really high bar set for him like a week prior. But the difference between the man is ZTR didn't make mistakes. ZTR looked like like a far better, well-rounded player. Honda impressed, but then we went to Nuke and I saw him making tons of errors and rotates and stuff like that. So ZTR just like
against FURIA
flew under it, man.
Yeah, Honda he had like a decent debut. Like he had like a really highlighty debut, but overall ZTR has just kind of been a better player. Like when we played FURIA, pretty much our game plan on T-side Nuke was go ramp and abuse Honda and just fuck up their entire rotations and everything just constantly. So it worked out pretty well for us the first time, I think. So yeah, overall, ZTR is a lot more of a, I think, at least at the moment, is a better player than Honda is.
He just seems more well-rounded in general.
Yeah.
It's not like anything like super impressive, I would say. Like he wasn't a player that came in and he was like, oh, holy shit, like look at this guy. But he was definitely one there. I was like, he seems like a solid piece to their team. Like he's not going to be the one like leading for them on the server or anything, but he's definitely like he plugs in well.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think that he's still. I mean, when you look at the stats actually for all of Blast, or at least their group, he did the worst of everybody in that group in terms of numbers. So despite that really nice opener BO3, it didn't fare so well for him after that. But NIP still came in second place in their group. They are still they to me look like they're coming up a little bit. And I like that ZTR just kind of does his job. I actually, in a way, I feel like this makes sense now, but I will say that when you bring in a new player to a team, I would rather they learn the macro later as opposed to like getting better at mechanically speaking. Because I feel like it's very easy. It's easier for a mechanically gifted player to get the macro than for a player that understands the macro to get the mechanical ability. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, sure. Like I was kind of surprised at like the instant boost that NIP kind of seemed to get from like benching Twist and putting in ZTR, because it's not like Twist was like taking up tons of space or like ZTR is like playing completely different spots and it's like freeing up other people. Like, I mean, he's doing pretty much the same things as Twist, and like Twist seemed like a decent team player. Like he was just kind of doing his job, especially towards the end of the lineup. So
I think ZTR over Twist is kind of like their rebrand. Nobody really asked for it, but it still works. Like it's not bad. Obviously, like they had good showings in the start, right? And then Big got their revenge and blew them out on Vertigo and like in the finals for the group. So there's still room for improvement, especially with him particularly. But like the fact that, you know, if this was the change that let Knock pop off, then great, right? But I don't, you know, again,
It's weird. It's just weird to me, like where it would have come from in terms of.
Yeah,
I don't know,
exactly.
besides, like, I don't know if attitudes or like people were clashing. Obviously, I have no insight into like how personalities were in the team, and if like, I mean, and just in general, just, you know, adding a new player and kind of like getting a new lineup can just kind of reinvigorate a team, even if like the players are pretty similar. But it was kind of strange to me, like the instant boost you kind of seem to help Nike get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, after watching the games back even more, I feel like the one against Astralis was probably Astralis not being in tip-top form. So that's like credit. I mean, you got to give some credit to NIP and ZTR for how well they did there, but it almost felt like they were flying out the gates, whereas Astralis was just kind of like, we'll just like go through the motions here, and oh, okay, we messed up a couple key rounds that probably like set us back.
NIP can be hard to deal with, man. They went from like a year ago or two, like just being like the enemy of just like a default team that just doesn't do anything special. And then they added Hampus, and now Hampus seems to have got more comfortable with his calling and stuff, and it's like a pretty similar dynamic where it's just Hampus just doing all kinds of fucking crazy things and just pretty much leading the way for NIP, just taking super aggro of different parts of the map and stuff.
Yeah.
Similar like to what Art does, probably not to the same extent, but pretty similar in terms of like making space and shit like that.
Yeah, let's move on to the winners of Group B, though. Complexity. This was a good look, because I feel like Mix, I feel like you've been very closely looking at Complexity for some reason, even though I feel like when they had NATO and when they had Yugi and just that, they had a couple different people moving in and out. I didn't really pay that much attention to them. But now that they have their full 5-man lineup, this is really good. They didn't drop a single map. They beat Vitality, although Vitality was kind of in the process of moving out Apex. They beat G2, which I felt like was a really legit win. And then they handled EG. Like they made them look bad. They made EG look like noobs. So this was really, really nice. Let's see. Scrawny, which games from Complexity maybe stood out to you the most? Or what about their play?
Yeah. I think it's the play was, to me, it was Poison, right? Like, I remember it was like we were like 5 rounds deep in the first map when they were playing versus Vitality, their opener. Anders and Semler were casting it, and I just, you know, I put it out there. I was like, man, if Poison has a rough start after all this time for these guys waiting for him to come back, like it's going to be tough. It's going to be a really tough pill for the team to swallow if Poison doesn't return with the impact that we knew he had. And he was down, I think, like 1-6 or like 1-7 on Mirage.
Yeah.
And he had this crazy 4K off of Stairs, A-Site Mirage. And like that was like the firecracker of like of like Poison's ability. And he didn't even have a good showing on that Mirage game. But it was from that point, from that play, that they turned it around. I think, you know, Config drops like 30 kills.
Yeah.
And that's because Config is genuinely, you know, top 20 material. So like the whole Complexity machine kind of fired up the moment Poison got that 4K. And even though he had the rest of the quiet map, you know, they went to Overpass. Launders did the video, like the Ziwu, you know, record low 2-kill game. Like that was Poison smashing him.
Yeah.
Poison, you know, he finishes that game like 20-7 versus Vitality in his second map back after having months away from like competitive play. And, you know, we know there was like something going on with Vitality now. But still, I think like the key to that success for Cole was just the fact that Poison sat back down in that chair and just straight up delivered. And everybody's back together as well. It's like, you know, when we saw the energy of Complexity at the start of 2020, when they were in London and they kind of smashed their way through groups, like it looked like we got that right back the moment Poison sat down, which is crazy. Like I thought for sure there was going to be ring rust there, but there's not.
I mean, did Complexity just get some sort of boost in blast events, or like what is this?
Right? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's just like the timing of it, right? Like, fuck, those poor guys having to go through all of those like bad roster pickups for the stand-ins, you know, like when they got Yugi, for example, like, I mean, that's just like, that's treading water. And I thought like Complexity might actually be one of the tragedies of 2021, where at the end of the year, we saw what they could do. And then if you're just going to be like, you know, hitting all these hiccups, all these speed bumps, like I think they really could have failed here, but Blame F proved that like he can get the team through it, lead them through it. He didn't drop off. Config rush. Everybody looks good for Cole. But like you were saying, man, I think the big game was the victory was the victory over G2. Vitality were kind of going down. G2, they took that game clean. It was like close rounds at times, close scores, but that was the one that impressed me the most. Was the second map of the group.
So last year, Config or Blame F was a top 10 player, and Config. No one else on Complexity was. Well, I guess you could include JKS, right? But like, not really at the same time.
Blame F is not the most important player on Complexity. That's what I will tell you.
You don't think so?
No, I think that is definitely Config. Just considering the way Complexity plays.
Yeah.
So like, you look at the difference between Blast and the recent IEM Katowice event.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you look at the Blast event, and Config has literally a 1.35 rating.
Yes, and they just smashed.
Yeah, and then you go to Katowice, and he's just sitting at like a 1.00.
Yeah.
So it's like super varying levels, different levels of form from like Config, and that's also like really important to Complexity because overall, like from the times at least that I've played them, they've been a fairly easy team to kind of like prep for and understand like what they're doing. They just have like a ton of strats that they run. Blame F's like lurking somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Just in general, like the calling isn't like bad. It's just pretty average. It's not like that difficult to play against or anything. And so when they're like running like so many like set strats and shit, like they become so reliant on just Config, having good games, getting entries, having like tons of impact.
Yeah.
So just in that way, like I think Config having impact, feeling good, playing well is like by far the most important aspect of their game, and that's when they really win games and when they really are able to step up.
The way I would relate it to another team is Mausports in the last year. It basically felt to me like Rops would always put up a 1.2 rating, but that didn't necessarily translate to victories. But if Frozen had a 1.2, they win every time. So like I feel like I would relate like Config to Frozen in that they're not like always set up for the absolute most success, but when they do succeed, the game is over. They're just going to take over. So yeah, I definitely can agree with that. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Evil Geniuses. Evil Geniuses had a really rough time at the beginning of this year at the DreamHack Open January against they lost to FPX and they were eliminated. I mean, and then now they're coming in second place in their group at Blast. I don't think they've played. Oh, they beat Gambit actually today.
Yeah, they beat Gambit
at Katowice, which is also a legit win. So do we think EG is back?
I feel like it's way too early to say with them right now. Like they just haven't played against, aside from like their Blast group, I guess, they haven't really played against a lot of really good teams. Like Vitality were obviously had their own issues in that event. And then they played against G2 and then lost to Complexity. So I guess like they're definitely doing better than they were at the start of this year, I'd say. But I think it's like a little bit too early to really call whether they're back or not.
I would say they're as back as like Astralis are. You know, like obviously different ceilings, but like they're not to where they once were. I think today's victory over Gambit is kind of like one of the more legitimizing ones, right? Like if you just think about their European run at the moment, you know, they went back to Europe. They had like a string of events. They pretty much bombed out at the global finals, having only beat FURIA, and that was with Honda as a stand-in. So, you know, skin of their teeth type deal. The DreamHack Open looked like it was going to be the death of the roster. 10 rounds across 2 maps versus FPX. Like that was the brand new roster with Chris J too. And then the group, right? Like the saving grace of the group, I think, is that again that victory over top of G2. Because even Vitality, like you've got Apex out, Navera, like that was like the heat, and that was 2 rounds, right? They won in overtime. So let's imagine a world where that DreamHack Open happens. They lose to FPX, get 10 rounds, and then they go into the groups and they get eliminated by a team that just lost their IGL. Yeah. Now, you know, that would be, I think, like the end of this roster potentially. Even a good run in Katowice could maybe not even change that, right? Like is it crazy that we're in a world where it's like, oh, they beat Gambit, good for them, because Gambit has promise. Don't get me wrong, but this, like you said, right? Are they back to where they were?
Beating Gambit as an NA team, okay. Listen, we take our time at NA. You know, we're just scrimming each other, scrimming Brazilians sometimes, and then you come to EU. You think you're gonna boot camp, right? You're gonna play some European teams, and then you schedule a couple scrims with Gambit. And then you go into the scrim with Gambit, you're not really sure what to expect, and then you just get a fucking ass thrashing. Just like you're lucky if you get 10 rounds. Like
Right.
You're playing these guys, and you are convinced that these players on Gambit are the best players you have ever played in a game of Counter-Strike. Like, they are just the best team in the world, and they should be top 5 easy. So listen, you take that in consideration for these NA teams, and then you beat Gambit online.
So
let's
take
that.
So you're thinking, holy shit, we just beat Gambit online.
Take that victory, combine it with the G2 win, and like EG's got something going. Like the ball's definitely rolling. But this is a string of 4 events where they're, remember, they got wrecked by complexity once they beat G2, right? And like G2, we don't really know where G2 are. For all we know, they're in freefall. So let's say that's not the most impressive victory. Let's say it's 3 flat events from EG into a win over Gambit. We'll see how they finish, man.
Yeah, the rest of this bracket goes as such that they're going to be playing Astralis tomorrow, and then I think they're playing the winner of G2 and Big. So like,
I'm just letting you know.
Ooh, okay, that's the bold spread.
Dude.
Stanislaw has had a pretty good record against Astralis overall. Like, he's taken some pretty big victories over them.
That's my hot take of the day.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's totally possible, especially if they throw in Vester, but they're not doing that. So actually I wanted to bring in Pronogo, because Pronogo's actually been casting European is it EDC?
It is EDC, European Development Championship.
Electric Daisy Carnival. Yeah, so you've been casting that rave, and but basically, like, Pronogo actually has some insight on this one. So what do you know about Astralis' 7th player?
Well, I know that he was probably not even top 3 on that roster, to be frank. So that's what makes me think, like, Zyphon really turned my head on that roster. He was basically their hard carry player, and the only reason they got any rounds at all for the most part of even their own map pick. So they definitely looked like maybe it was just an off game when I happened to cast them. Obviously, it's only a sample size of 1, but having done a little bit of prep as well, it's very clear that Vester himself was a primary opper, and I'm not really convinced that he necessarily will be able to adapt like what Yugi was essentially forced to do when he was brought on to start playing rifles. And realistically speaking, you have plenty of riflers on Astralis already. It must be a role thing. The only reason they would bring him on, aside from, as you referenced before we got started, Maui, the idea that maybe he's just keeping Bubsky company on the bench. Aside from that, then the only reason to bring him on is because you think you need an opper. And why would you need an opper when you have Device? So it's a lot of question marks for me.
Yeah.
To me, just trying to legitimize their Astralis talent program by just acting like he's like with the team.
I mean, even in their announcement, they said that they're probably not gonna use him. So it seems like they're just trying to get him like to listen in on their comms a little bit, maybe like get an idea of how they play and add to his own game. That would be my guess in terms of what they're trying to do with this, because if they're just going to add him to the roster and then say even in the announcement that they're not going to use him, it's like, what is the point here?
It's like, bring your kid to work.
That's their goal. Yeah. Why not bring the whole kids, though?
Yeah.
Bring all his friends. Like, if you're going to do something like that, then actually bring the whole team up, if that's what the goal is, to learn from the best, like learn from the proper roster. I just don't get the angle of only bringing one. And it does seem a little suspicious that he's a primary op, but not the best player on the team.
Yeah.
So, like, again, why does he get the call up in that sense? You know what I mean?
I guess they just are maybe thinking Device is going to take a break. Like, it would be convenient if Device took a tournament off and they used this guy. I think that's the only thing I can think of. But like, why would you ever take Device out of this team? Because he's so frequently the reason they win games. So I don't.
Fuck that. Just put the pre on the op.
Yeah, I mean, Debris on the op wasn't even bad. It was good. So I like it. I think he would be probably better than a tier 2 opper. So, or whatever tier you consider Astral's talent.
If Dupree goes op, then surely Bubsky gets in before this new guy, right?
Yeah, that's
surely this is how he gets in, right?
Yeah.
Like, is that what it's gonna take, man?
So then
poor guy isn't even playing on Nuke anymore. So
that's even assuming any of them take a break, which doesn't even seem that likely at the moment, considering like we just got into like the new season.
Right. Yeah.
Timing.
And for people that didn't see the game that happened today, Astralis Mouseports, Zipnix played and he dropped 180 R. So like
that's a win.
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, Bubsky, but it's gonna be a pretty cold bench.
It's almost like he's a good player on Nuke. Almost. Who would have thought?
Yeah. Let's move on to a team that's seen Astralis a lot over the years. Liquid. They had a pretty rough time at Blast, I'd say. Their group. I really enjoyed watching the FaZe games where, Twist versus Liquid. I feel like the narrative was just beautiful for that. And Twist even played quite well in a couple of those games. So, Scrawny, what'd you see though from Liquid, or like what are you seeing from them that's not getting them over the line? Why are they not even getting top 2 in their group against a FaZe team that doesn't have an IGL?
Yeah, that's dude. I don't know. I think this result kind of exists in like a little microcosm. I think like the first game when we had the Liquid FaZe match, right? Like there's two anomalies in that series. One, Twist just left your team. He's got every possible strat you have, man. And I think that's the result of Nuke. The reason that game was a 16-1 is because every single time Liquid tried to do something, FaZe did the perfect answer, man. Every single time.
Yeah.
And so I think they got wrecked there. I think the game plan from FaZe was way too well aware. After that match, FaZe came on and they had an interview and they said like, yeah, we've been working with our new player in terms of preparation for this one. So it's like you've got karrigan on the sideline writing books about how to beat Liquid, and you've got the guy who probably photocopied everything he could before he left, right? So
it's a good mix for Liquid.
Yeah,
I mean for FaZe, because it's like one, they still have like karrigan just like helping and preparing them like for these matches. But also, it's like you're still playing with Olaf, who's like probably just gonna fuck off after. So it's like,
dude,
you have like no pressure.
That's the second anomaly.
It's like you don't have any pressure. It's like if you lose, it's not gonna matter. You're playing with Olaf still, so it's like a pretty good combination to like get a couple series wins, even if you're not playing with maybe your full team at the moment.
Dude, Olaf hasn't played like that for since he's been called back as a stand-in. We've never gotten that performance. And then he's not only like the reason that they win Dust 2 in the first time they played Liquid, followed by just like the perfect clinical performance. But then when we go to the second best of 3, where like I thought Liquid maybe were going to get their revenge, like Nuke looked way better. They actually got into overtime. So it just took like a couple of days of adjustments. And you go from a 16-1 to an overtime win. Yeah. So stark contrast. But even in that series, you've got Olofmeister with an MVP performance.
Yes.
Like it's so I think Liquid were just the victim of Olaf. And you look at FaZe and you consider like their play versus the Navi, which was like the series of the entire event, in my opinion. Like that's when you realize like FaZe is the real deal, even without karrigan. Like individually, dude, that week they looked so good, every single player, that I think they're simply the better team. Liquid didn't match up in terms of firepower, bro.
It's just how the tables turn when FaZe get to be the one sitting at home drinking Coke with no pressure.
Yeah. Well, since we're on the topic of Olaf, I do want to bring up the fact that so coldzera brought up the fact that Olaf wants to retire. He just straight up revealed that, which I felt was like a very weird move, because you should let a guy announce his own retirement if he wants to. Second thing though is that Olaf kind of said that maybe I'm not going to retire. Do you guys think that? I'll just give my opinion. I feel like he said that because he played well. He basically played really well and was like, wait a second, maybe I can keep going, guys. And he was probably already considering other options, but
yeah, he played well for once. He was like, dude, this is a lot of fucking fun.
Exactly, yeah. It's fun to win. It's fun to own. It'll never not be fun to just play the game well.
Yeah, but I mean, I still just want to see him on like another Swedish team before he retires or something like that.
Yeah, and this is something I was going to save for later, but like, where do you guys think he could go? Like, what's the future for Olaf? If he were to, let's not, I mean, maybe he could do streaming, maybe he could do some, general like manager role or something like that. But if he were to join a team, like what does that roster look like in your eyes? If you built the roster for him?
I wouldn't build a roster around him.
Yeah, or, I mean, like in a fabled world, like would it be like a top 15 team? Would it be a top 20 team? Like, where do you think an Olaf caliber player belongs in the CSGO space right now?
I feel like he would go back to the Swedish team, if anything. Like, I don't think he would stay on an international lineup for the last team of his career. I feel like if he was to retire on a team, he'd go for something like a Dignitas or an NIP.
Right there.
Dig.
Yeah.
Give it to us. Let Boris Freiberg and Olaf play together. And that 3-man right there, right, is like, that's just fun to watch. So you could like cheer for him, because let's be real, I don't think he's going to win again. Like you said, man, like he's going out on a huge performance. That'd be the perfect place to end. If he just stopped right now, it would actually be the best spot, so that he doesn't have to go get, battered in the top 30. But if he wants to continue competing, then I think Dignitas is the team.
Hey, Dignitas are 30th. Watch your mouth. They are. Yeah, no, but I agree. I think that Dig would be a super sweet spot for him to end up on. And I would probably have to swap out Hare lately because in the Dig games that I've seen, I've liked Heap a lot because he seems like a young up and coming talent. He's pretty cerebral at times.
I thought Hare is like supposed to be like the IGL or something, but apparently
no,
it's
Freiburg's
yeah,
IGL. Yeah.
Then I was just kind of confused, to be honest, because he hasn't really been playing that well.
Hare's supposed to be like a hard entry, but he hasn't been doing all that. Yeah. I feel like the game is more deep than just hard entry all the time, you know? So I would put Olaf there. Okay, let's bring it back to some of the other teams. So Astralis, I guess we already touched on them. How about G2? Let's get a gauge of where do we think G2 is? Is this team, do we think, like Scrawny kind of said, are they in a free fall maybe? Or are they just still putting things together? Like this team is such an enigma for me.
I feel like they're struggling just because Kenny S has had like a pretty poor run of form recently. Like he's been really up and down for them. But I think, I don't know, I feel like in terms of their overall level, they're not bad, but they just need to actually have Kenny be consistent to actually continue posting results against good teams. Like when you don't have a consistent opper and you have Kenny in the sort of role that he does, you're just not going to be able to consistently beat the sort of teams that are at the top level.
If I'm G2, like, I don't know, I'm probably just still not going to really mess with anything until you can play with this roster on LAN. I don't know. To me, I don't have any like maybe valid reason for this. They just seem like a team that'll perform much better on LAN to me. I think that's where like a lot of that like star power that they currently have. Some of the players would really shine. Obviously, Nico's playing out of his mind still because he's Nico. But I don't know. Besides that, like, because it's like I feel like it'd be too early to like really change anything. I don't really know what you change really, and like for who. Unless you are able to just get fucking Zylu or something. But like aside from that, like I'd probably just stick it out and probably just keep playing with this roster, keep trying to figure things out, keep hoping LANs come back somewhat soon, so your team can actually get a shot at playing LAN. Because I do genuinely think G2 will be better on LAN.
It's not the end of this 5-man, but like if we take that approach and we just give them more time. Which I think is kind of, dude, I hate that concept of like, well, they just need a bit more time. It's like, dude, they look fantastic the moment he joined. And as time's gone on, they've gotten worse. Like, no, let's rewind somehow. Like, but Kenny S is a valid criticism. You know, he also, like Ziwu, dropped a career worst performance at the Blast Spring groups. So, I mean, that's definitely a talking point, right? But like, I don't think you're going to cut Kenny. It's just not worth it. Like, it's just crazy to me that they spend this money on Nico. They bring him into the team, and then it somehow like isn't an instant upgrade. It's like, you know, it worries me that like, what is he doing to teams? You know, they don't look that different. Nobody on the team's coming out of there. You know, nobody's coming out and saying it's an ego issue or like there's personal problems or anything like that. But I don't know, man. Kenny S hasn't played the same without Jax. I don't know if that's what helped him in the online era.
Yeah, Kenny's definitely who I look to, but at the same time, it's like, who do you cut? I'm just worried that you would cut Kenny, but like, if you were to do that, say like, okay, we need a better opper. It's like, well, who the fuck?
Find one. Yeah, exactly. And what I'm just worried is like, if you give them more time, then you're going to get this like festering problem of all of the hard periods that are going on right now. You can only with those 5. I feel like with the players on that team, you can only lose badly for so long before you're never coming back. Regardless of LAN. So like for G2's sake, dude, I'm right there with you, man. I hope they get to LANs fast because I think this is a ticking time bomb of a team, man, with a big
they don't
price
necessarily need to like fucking like just hit like top 3, you know, like banging form online. Like,
sure.
But they definitely need to show they need to show something. Like they need to show that like there is like real potential here still here, and like, you know, these difficulties are going to be like worth working through.
Yeah. I think G2 looked best last year when I felt like their playstyle was more rigid and structured. And I feel like right now they're playing in a way that's almost like a little bit too free-flowing, which I don't really like. And I don't really think Nexa calls a very good like mid-round based off of defaults, honestly. I think if he just knows what the play is out of spawn, they play a lot better. So I actually would kind of like try to play a less loose style. Personally, I think that's hurting them a lot right now, because I think if they just grind demos again and just steal a shitload of execs or something from old Hunden teams or some just shit like that. Just like take the guesswork out of the IGLing, because I don't think right now their mid rounding only looks good when it's like some crazy late round situation, like a 2v4 or something, and those two players are just playing off of instinct at that point. So
I'm worried that their mid rounding is like a bit of a tug of war between him and Nico.
I think
I'm curious to like how the mid round dynamics have changed since Nico joined, and like, but that's also me just kind of like, I don't want Nico to fail. Like, absolutely not. Like, I think this team, like when it happened, was like, dude, this could take over Counter-Strike. And then we saw their first event, and it felt like that was going to happen, dude. It was like this glorious coming together of firepower, bro. But now it's like, man, is another team going to tank after Nico shows up?
Right.
I don't know. I don't want that to happen. But like, again, like those mid-round moments, I think you're spot on, dude. Those are where my biggest question marks lie. Like,
yeah.
And also like the form of Hunter and Nexa as well, right? Like I think Hunter made a lot of sacrifices to include Nico, and I don't see it paying off yet, obviously.
If I were Nexa, I would do one thing where I would also like try to incorporate Kenny S in a way where Kenny S doesn't know he's the focal point of a round, which seems like really weird, but I want to like trick Kenny S that he's good again. And I'll be like, Kenny, go for this pick. It's almost like I'll tell him as little as possible. I'll be like, Kenny, I'm going to set you up with a smoke and a flash, and we're going to have a guy covering your side over here. So you just need to worry about this one thing, but I'm going to like give it to him in as like as brief of a description as possible so that he just gets going. Like I need him to think he's good by his own merit, even though we're setting him up, because I need this guy to have confidence, because he just played Spirit today and Kenny S was bottom fragging the whole server. He had 43 ADR, 38 kills, 53 deaths. I mean, it was not a good showing for him. And I think there's just a storm of things that are happening that's just bad for G2. And unless anybody else has anything, I want to move on. So,
well, let's just say, eventually, if you do have to replace Kenny S, which I don't think that they have to do right now, but who would you look to? I'm thinking, like, honestly, imagine oSee on this team.
Oh my god!
Fuck it, let's go.
the NA pod coming out right now.
I would fuck with it.
That's fine. You can just do like a swap. So
it took me 5 seconds to remember who you were talking about, dude.
Kenny S go to X Assault.
oSee overclock? Like what? Oh,
yeah,
that oSee shit.
So now we got Kenny S playing with JT, Fang.
Yeah.
Please no.
Just not. It'd be kind of fun just to randomly see Kenny S just like tearing up North American MDL. Like,
yeah. I think oSee's okay. oSee has been shredding NA lately. But that is just
no. He was shredding. No, trust me. oSee could definitely play on a top team. oSee was shredding even before, so like we were still playing good teams.
Okay,
as
question.
The old C9 lineup, oSee progressively became the best player on the team over Floppy.
Yeah, I actually can agree with that. I think by the tail end, it was kind of a neck and neck for me. I don't know if I would necessarily. I mean, you were closer on the team, so you would have seen it better. But when I was watching, I kind of was like, oh my god, is this like a oSee 1-2 with Floppy, or like who's actually on top? But yeah. I actually want to throw this question out there that I was thinking about it lately. Is oSee the best NA grown opper right now?
I mean, yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, I would agree.
Who the fuck else is there?
What about Junior?
That's exactly my point. I don't think there's anybody else.
I got oSee over Junior.
I really like Junior, but I think
have a chance before oSee does actually though, which is funny because obviously Junior on FURIA is going to be playing against actually European teams and shit, so he'll have his chance to like make his name known and kind of like take over that spot from oSee. At the moment though, I'd probably still put oSee above him.
I think as somebody who doesn't have their like finger on the pulse of NA as much, I think like we saw. I remember DreamHack Leipzig, I want to say 2020, the start of the year, like when Cloud9 was like, they had their little LAN chance. I think it was Leipzig into Katowice. oSee had his run, right? At top one, at like tier one at EU play. Yeah. And it wasn't there then.
oSee back then, trust me, the improvement of oSee from like when I first joined ATK in like November of like 2019. And so like from that time period, like to like that time before Katowice and stuff, like that oSee compared to like oSee now and like towards the end of the team is literally just like a completely different player. Like the amount of confidence that he gained, like the amount that like he grew in terms of like his opping, his like aggressiveness, his assertiveness and things like that, literally just became like a completely different player. Like he turned into like a literal support opper that was scared to like do anything, that literally had like entry rates at some events of like 10% to being like often like the main focal point of the round, and you know, taking initiative and things like that. So
yeah, he said the same thing when I interviewed him. Like he'd lost a lot of confidence at some point, and it was like a big thing where he actually got it back over time.
Yeah,
one of those situations where, like, you know, he had promise, man, and I guess like from an international level, then it's sort of like let's hope that he came back, farmed some NA, and now if he gets another run, because it's like there's no doubt Junior's going on that run now, right? I think that's what's going to cement this comparison. Is it's like, well, if Junior doesn't find impact the same way oSee did, and then Junior starts to lose confidence, and like, all right, let's slot oSee back in and hope he gets out of here. But you know, those chances right now are kind of far and few between, right? That's what's scary.
Yeah.
So
I think Junior on FURIA right now is just gonna be so rough to try to fit into that kind of team.
It's gonna be rough at the start. At least,
yeah. They haven't played yet, but they're gonna play against NIP as their first game. I feel like that's just gonna be so awkward. Like
it's gonna be rough for FURIA too, man. Like I'm worried about Junior, but like this, you know, there's no way his Portuguese is that good. Right. And so it's I don't know. There's no way he's catching up. So they've got to speak English, man. Like that's the last team I thought we were going to see include somebody English. It's so weird. It's so weird.
So I have a feature coming out on Junior. So I have a bit of insight on this actually. In fact, the feature should be coming out like in the next hour or so. But essentially he's been practicing with them from North America for the last like 2 weeks or so. And playing with 120 ping, and he's like, dude, I've been shitting on people in Europe with 120 ping from here. But also I asked him about the comms, and he said that, well, first of all, like Gary, their coach, said that the entire point behind adding Junior to their roster was that they wanted to become an international roster. Like aside from adding Junior just to be English speaking, they want to transition to being able to be an international roster and pick up other players as well.
Wow.
So it's like more of like an overall game plan that's long term for them, which I actually appreciate that, because it's not just like you won't see these players like reverting to speaking in Portuguese just because they can. Sure. Which I honestly personally am a fan of that approach to it. He said the communication is hectic, but that's just FURIA. Sure. So it'll be interesting to see them play. I think you guys are right though. They'll definitely have like a growing pains period.
There's gotta be, man. Yeah. I'd be so shocked if that team doesn't have issues at the start. Like that'd be you know, that to me.
I like the move. I just hope that like they anticipated like the very likely possibility of having growing pains when doing it, which I assume they did. So I assume that like. Yeah,
I feel like they're screwed for this event. I mean, their first BO3, like I said, against NIP, I think they're just going to lose that. And then they play the loser between Navi and VP. Like this is an 0-2 for me. I don't see them winning either of these. I guess maybe they would beat NIP, but they're not beating VP or Navi for my money. I just think
Junior's going to smoke James.
Man. Oh, so you think VP is losing to Navi? Okay,
yeah,
well, that's where you're wrong. It's he's going to be up against Simple, and trust me, it's not going to.
In that case, later, Junior.
All right, yeah, okay. Yeah, let's just move all in to the IEM play-in here. So this just concluded in the last couple of days. The teams that made it through were Spirit, Gambit, NIP, Liquid, OG, VP, Maus, and Big. Any big...
What? It's crazy.
Yeah. You guys didn't quite make it though. Just a few rounds away on this too.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, well, any big surprises for you guys about who made it through this? I would say, yeah. Just someone else take it. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Spirit went through undefeated was a little bit. I thought that they had good potential to make it through. I just didn't think they'd go through without dropping a map. Like that was pretty
big. 2-0.
I was so stoked to play Spirit. Another Russian team. Yay! That's all we play. We come to Europe and we play Russians and Brazilians. That's life.
Yeah, that's a tough one for you guys. I feel like Spirit. I think the biggest surprise for me was probably not seeing.
Probably Fnatic, right?
Wisla Krakow. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, probably Fnatic or complexity. Yeah. Complexity for me, actually.
So yeah. I chalk it up to being like, I mean, Fnatic is definitely the biggest disappointment.
Yeah.
That's quite a shock that they went out the way they did, right? 16-9 versus OG. It's not many teams that get stomped by OG like that. And and then eliminated by MIBR, who we just saw in Blast, like kind of powering up a little bit, but nothing to tell us like they were gonna get beat. So I think Fnatic is like the biggest upset, hands down. That's so if we had to label one a shocker, then it's definitely Fnatic. After that, there's Complexity.
Yeah.
But I think, and I hate doing this, but I'm going to say that if they were playing anybody, there's 2 other matches in that last round that I think if Complexity has a different opponent, they get through, right? So they lose to Mouse Sports, close game in the middle, close second map.
Dude, they collapsed on Dust 2. They were up 15-8. And then they just lost everything. They literally lost the whole game.
I think they were also up like 9-1 in the first half or something too.
Yeah, they were just dominating them. It was like a mental thing.
But put Complexity against what are the other games? The 2 games that like I put a flag on are OG versus Cloud9, VP versus Renegades. I don't personally put a lot of stock in VP. I think you put Cole against any of those 4 teams, Complexity make it to the event.
I think they lose to VP. But I think they beat every other team, actually.
OG, Cloud9, and Renegades, right? You can agree on that?
Complexity. I don't lose to Complexity.
You don't lose to Cole?
I mean, let's think about it. Katowice qualifier last year with the old C9, beat them. We played them recently. We beat them again, you know?
I think they would beat MIBR too, though. Complexity.
I beat Complexity, that's what I'm saying.
You are the Complexity's
who else do you guys beat?
It's a short list. It's a short list.
We beat Envy, at least the old roster. Though.
Right.
That was my greatest satisfaction. To be honest.
To be Nifty, yeah,
Nifty and Legia.
You put Nifty in the dirt. You actually sent Nifty to free agency. So
I think the plan, dude. Like, if you had to give it like a title, dude, I think like the overall success of the CIS region at the plan is really cool. Like, you got like the 3 teams. Like, I think like the 3 teams you kind of put like an asterisk next to. It's to me, it's like Gambit, Spirit, and Virtus.pro. Like,
yes,
3 of the teams that I would say took the spots away from, let's say, Fnatic, Complexity, and if I had to choose another team that like I put on the fringe there, it would be like Cloud9, Renegades, MIBR. Like, that's who I could have seen getting through if it wasn't for those 3 CIS teams.
I don't want to sound salty, but VP, I think, will still be good on LAN. Spirit, I think, will be good on LAN, but I think the way they play, just from like having to prepare for them and shit, I don't think they'll be as good on LAN. Maybe at least at first. I think that style will be a lot harder to translate over to LAN, just from watching like how they play and just especially like people like Mer. Like, it's a lot harder to play off of shit like that, I think, at LAN, where like Mer's just kind of doing his own thing. They don't really have a set plan in like any of the rounds. It's like pretty much the same thing on their CT rounds. Their T side rounds are pretty like one, like Mer just lurking and the rest just doing something else.
Well, I think one important thing to note is that Dexter has 11 maps on LAN. This dude has never played on LAN, essentially. Yeah. So like, I think, and he's hard carrying them in a lot of games for me. I think Mir and him are basically the 1-2 punch for Spirit to open up a lot of rounds. And if Mir can play on LAN because he's played at majors, but Dexter has never, like, he plays in a way that's just so cool, calm, and collected that if he has nerves, you know, because he's at an event or something like that, and he falters, if he drops 10% in performance, Spirit don't win a lot of these close games that they have been playing. So I think that's totally
harder to be consistent on LAN, I think, with how they play. Like, don't get me wrong, I think they'll still be good. And I don't know, obviously, I don't know exactly how good they can be, and they can obviously grow past that shit and, you know, figure out how to play on LAN and stuff. But they're a team for me that I kind of look out for to see if, you know, how they would do in a different environment.
Yeah. All right. Any last notes here about the plan? I think we're good on that. All right. Let's move to the Patreon questions here. So we've got a handful of Patreon questions, and forgot to plug it at the beginning, but be sure, if you guys are really enjoying the content, to subscribe to the Patreon. Get on there. If you guys donate, I think a minimum of $5, you can ask questions for these pods. I think you get 2 a month. So just do it, you know? If you want us to talk about something, if you want our guests to talk about something, get them in. Do it.
Wait, Alex, you forgot to plug the Patreon? Never happened before. Holy.
Oh God, it literally has never happened in the history of this podcast that I forgot to plug anything. So the first one is this one's a toughie, by Essential Worker. And the question is, what's the best way to open a banana?
I prefer like a smoked top banana, and then like I usually with my team I usually prefer to like smoke it and then like molly behind it, and then
Yeah.
you have to add the window flash every time because if you want a fake banana and go A, like I always have to tell that I just know that teams don't window flash.
All right. No. How do you open a banana? How do you open a banana? We got the procedures. We got the C9 protocols down.
Yeah, we needed somebody with the nerdy Inferno answer, of course.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's obviously like the regular way to open a banana, which is like the people do it from the top, but you can crack it in half, which is like the prime way to open a banana.
You test your strength.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I mean, you crack it in half, and then you have two perfectly halved bananas, and then you can peel it from either side.
Call that a banana split, baby.
So I think the actual proper way to open a banana is from the side that doesn't have the stem, right?
Yeah.
Like I always use the stem as like the jackknife, but apparently that's supposed to be on the bottom, and you peel from the top, right?
Yeah.
By top, I mean like the stubby end.
Yeah, so I do it the way that monkeys do it, which is you pinch the end of the banana and then it just peels open on its own. It's just super efficient. It's like nature made it that way on purpose or something crazy like that. So yeah.
This question was a curveball. I was like, how do you answer? Because the question's so obvious. Like I actually struggled to figure out other questions. Has anybody ever opened it with their teeth? Like, is that ridiculous? Can you imagine opening a banana with your teeth?
It's like imagine someone like staring at you from across the room with like a banana in their hand, right? And they haven't opened it yet, and they just like bring out a knife. And that's like a man they would eat a banana, but they don't peel it first. They just cut it off and then just eat it in front of you, like staring at you. Just fucking.
Does anybody else eat the skin of the banana?
From that point on, you fucking fear.
I guess I'm the only one in the whole world.
And I'm telling you, you're saying that you had to think about this question, but I'm telling you, the prime way is cracking it in half. Because that's the way nobody else does it.
I don't think I'd be able to do it clean enough.
Yeah.
It'd just be smashed. It'd
Not clean. It sounds like you're not opening it right.
If it's not strong enough.
If it's too ripe and you do that, it would just turn to mush. But if it's a raw, like if it's a little green on the outside, it can snap pretty well actually. But then you have like fibrous material from the skin. Okay.
When you guys rate bananas, fruit is it like a top 3 fruit for you? Top 1?
It's a fruit I can actually eat every single day. But the thing about bananas is I will never eat more than one. Like if it takes a psychopath to say I'm gonna eat 3 bananas right now. Like who the fuck does that?
Yeah.
It's just not that kind of snack. Whereas grapes, I can just eat a shitload of grapes. Like
it's number 3 behind strawberries and blueberries.
Coincidentally, we just lost Essential Worker as a patron because he eats 4 bananas a day.
Yeah, right. No, he's upgrading his Patreon sponsorship now because of this. How we were so thorough with this. Okay, all right. Let's move on to the next one. You talk a lot about the talent in the Russian and CIS region, and this is by Jiggly Puffing, by the way. So thank you for submitting the question. If you were to make a roster that couldn't contain simple or electronic of only CIS players, who would it be? Scrawny, who would you go with? Who would you go?
All right, man. I put a little thought into this one. So, IGL, Boomich. I'm keeping Boomich from Navi. All right. I think he's got actual firepower potential. So you need an IGL. I'm going with Boomich. I'm keeping that one guy from Navi. Then I'm taking Sumdai Young off of Spirit. I'm taking Yakinder off of Virtus Pro. All right. Stick a couple rifles in their hands. Now you need an opper. You need an opper. Who do you op with, bro? I'm putting all my money on Shiro. Shiro of Gambit alongside Hobbit as the 5th player. So I'm going to go through this roster, right? Boomich, Sumdai Young, Yakinder, Shiro, Hobbit.
That's really good. That's a really strong lineup.
Pretty
actually,
lineup.
that would be a top 10 team probably in the. I think that would be like 9th in the world, 8th maybe. What do you guys think? Where would you rate that? Probably.
I would only change every player.
All right. Okay. No. What's your team?
They're called Virtus Pro.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
If you actually want like a genuine team, then I think Boomich as well. Well, actually, no. I'd say I'd actually just take Jame and Yakinder as a duo, and then I'd tack on. I would tack on Chopper and.
That's another IGL then.
Sorry, I was hiding. You were correct. I would tack on Mur and Sumdai Young. that case.
Okay. All right, Mix. What's your CIS almost super team?
All right, we'll go something different. All right, we're gonna start with James and Yakindar, but James not gonna op. He's just gonna
Let's start with something different, exactly the same way that.
No, but I'm saying James
No, just started.
James not gonna op. Okay, our opper instead is gonna be Shiro. Okay, we're gonna have a deadly CT side op duo. Yakindar, fucking doing Yakindar things.
Yes.
Yes,
he does.
Outside of that, I actually like the Hobbit pick as one of my role players.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with that, and then from there, I don't know, another fucking rifle, right? So, probably Young. Probably who I would go with.
Damn, you guys rate Young really high.
Actually, no. I'm
man.
not gonna go with him. I'm gonna go with Buster. So I'm gonna go with Hobbit.
That's a
Buster,
good one.
Yakindar,
Buster
James,
is good.
and Shiro.
That's a really good pick. I like that you did that. Okay. My lineup would be the IGL would be. Oh, God, it's so rough, honestly, because honestly, I think
James just put the op out of his hands.
I think James is the best IGL in the CIS region, but I don't want him to op because there's so many other good oppers in CIS.
Disagree with that, Scrawny. Who's better? Please tell me who is better, because it's
Who's
not
better than him?
It's not Boomich. I'm sorry.
No, Boomich is not calling better than James. James is calling better in my eyes. Like, James is doing more with a little bit less. Not that VP's bad, but he's doing more with less in my eyes. Like,
I think Boomich has a harder job.
I think
Boomich is managing fireworks. I think that's why his job's so difficult, dude. Is just because of the pieces he's working with. I think if you give put Boomich with 4 other people who where he's gonna have authority over them, and I think then there's more of an argument. Maybe James is a good IGL. I'll give him that, man. I don't know. I got something against James. Nothing personal. I just fucking saves too much.
Yeah.
All those highlight rounds you could have casted if you
dude,
didn't just save in T-spawn.
I just can't, man. So, okay, that's me underrated James. I'll admit to that one, man. But I do think Boomich has a lot of potential. But I also talked to the guy who sits on the team speak for Navi's comms. We have a Russian speaker at Blast. That holy shit. I'm not trying to get anybody fired, but he's somebody who hears what they're going on, what's going on in game. Is kind of touting Boomich as really trying to do his best to hold that shit together, and says he deserves more credit. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and try to give him that.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna go deeper just for fun, without doing Navi or VP players, and so I'm gonna pick I'm gonna pick Jerry from Forza. Yeah. I'm gonna pick definitely Dexter from Spirit. And then my other 3 are going to be, I'll do Mir as my aggressive rifler. I'll do Axile as my second in rifler, and then my support rifler will be. You could put Hobbit there. I think there's a good.
Hobbit, man.
Yeah, I think it might have to be Hobbit. So I would put Hobbit if I wanted to be a hipster. I would put Magix. But I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I was surprised Magix wasn't as picked as in this conversation. But I looked in the last 4 years of HLTV top 20, the only 2 players from the the only player from the CIS region other than Electronic and Simple is Hobbit in 2017.
Yeah,
I was kind of surprised looking back. I was like, damn, nobody else has ever actually made that cut. So
did Adren not make it?
Adren made it in the same year as Hobbit.
Okay.
But it was the 2 of them when they obviously had that major run. So
yeah. Oh,
but Magix, man, Magix is. I think Magix with a couple more years, dude.
Yeah.
And just having to interview him sometimes and work with him in content and stuff. He's just really young and he's working in a second language. So maybe my opinion of Magix isn't as informed as if I was from the CIS region. But he has fucking real potential. Big time.
Yeah, he's something pretty good. He actually could slot in for Buster or Hobbit on the team.
Yeah.
It's that anchor. He does a really good job with that.
Magix is Spirit's Valde in my eyes. He's just a super solid rifler that even in transition periods in a round, he can still just take people out when you kind of think oh, is he going to get caught right here? But he's always aware enough that he doesn't get caught. So it's really you just kind of know he's going to be a really steady force on the team. But that was a thorough answer for this question.
I mean, on a side note though, if we're pushing to development in a few years, Munzie or Monzi on Navi Junior is also definitely a shout.
Who the F?
He's like the 15-year-old like nutter, dude.
I'm looking at his picture. He's like tilting on HLTV, and he's like tilting his head sideways. His name, and he's like, I've never seen this guy.
He's touted as like a pretty good upcoming talent in the CIS region. He's just like, I'm pretty sure Navi would have actually taken him as their 6th, but he's actually underage for a lot of the roster locks, so he's still 15. So I'm pretty sure they would have used him if they could have instead of Bit.
Navi
young, man.
You know how Navi have a Navi youth team and a Navi junior team? This team has like they're so deep. It's just such a deep org. But I actually want to give a shout out really quickly to, if people don't really follow CIS stuff, Elian on Windstrike is disgustingly good also. He is like another upcoming opper who's just really fast. I don't think he's as smart as Dexter is in terms of game sense, but he makes up for it because his shots are just really freaking clean.
Dude, I'm just going to build like, this is how I'm going to bring NA back, right?
Just start importing Russians.
Yeah, just make a team of like 3 NA players. It doesn't really fucking matter who. And then just bring on like 2 like crazy Russians, and then like we'll just fucking win probably.
I think if you just took Elian out of Windstrike and you took Lollipop 21K out of Namiga and just put 3 NA players, they would just smash MDL. Actually, I think they would just own.
That'd be so much fun.
It would be really fun to watch, actually. Okay, next question. This is the last patron question. It's by Fursock, who has submitted quite a few questions, so thank you for your continued patronage. He is asking, after how long, if at all, does DMing deathmatch lose its value? Are there no gains to be had or even detriments from DMing too long?
I mean, it kind of just depends on the person. Like for me,
I agree.
In my opinion, I've never really like for me, the most important thing is always like, especially when you're coming up and you're still like trying to get to like, you know, top level, is just playing the fucking game a lot. Like whether that's pugs, deathmatching, like however you're comfortable, even like aimbots, just getting hours in is like by far just the most important thing to be doing. And so I think that like, you know, not everyone can take just like playing pugs like 12 hours in a row. So, you know, maybe you play pugs for like 8 hours, which sounds it's terrible. Yeah. But, and then you throw in like an hour or 2 of deathmatch, and it can definitely help. I don't know, like, I don't think there's really like a right or wrong answer for like, obviously if you're DMing for like 3 hours straight, like I'm not really sure how much that's going to help you at that point. At that point, I think it's better, at least for me, it maxes out at like an hour and a half. And then you should be putting in more hours into like actually playing the game and playing pugs and getting like real game experience is a lot more important than just playing deathmatch.
I think there's definitely diminishing returns behind deathmatch after an hour as well. Yeah, like there's only so much that you're because basically when you're deathmatching like that, you're engaging the muscles in your arm the entire time, and it's just like it's not necessary to be like that dialed in the entire time, and you're just not going to give your arm a break, which doesn't actually help much past that certain point. Like there's so much more that you can do in the game that'll help you build like extraneous abilities. Like surfing KZ will help your movement, which will in turn help your aim because you're now just better at lining yourself up for different things.
Yep.
So it's like there's so much more to the game other than just aiming and deathmatching that there's only a certain extent to where it will help you. But also, like as you said, it depends on the player. Like some players will benefit from only deathmatching for 10 minutes. Some players will benefit from only deathmatching for an hour. Like people like Ziwu who are inhuman just won't deathmatch. So
everything I hear about Ziwu just screams that he's just like some fucking robot.
He's a cyborg, dude. 100%. Yeah, he's just a cyborg. Test tube baby developed by Gaben to take Counter-Strike to a new level. Like there's no doubt, man. DM. I mean, DM's important. I've been on this. I was having this conversation with Launders. We were talking about the benefits of KZ and surfing for your aim, just because it tunes you into your sensitivity incredibly. Like, you know, there's a lot of mouse movement when you're doing KZ and when you're doing surf that just kind of gets like, you know, gets you a little fired up and shit. But like, yeah, I think like the hour, I feel like there's, like you said, man, major diminishing returns after an hour. I think it comes down to how much time you're playing. If you're playing 8 hours a day, go ahead and DM 2. If you're only playing 4 hours a day, don't spend half of that on deathmatch. There's better ways to spend your time.
Yeah, I started scrimming with an MDL team recently, and I only have like 15 hours in the past 2 weeks, but I'm still like really holding my own in it. And I DM for about I DM for about 10 minutes, and then I aimbots for like 20 minutes. I think aimbots is better for me. So I think finding your aim routine is just about what you end up finding is just most comfortable. So like aimbots, I feel like I just get more reps in quickly. So I can do, if I do 10 minutes of aimbots versus 10 minutes of DM, you know, in 10 minutes of DM, I'll get, I don't know, I'm just going to throw out a number, like 60 kills maybe. And then in 10 minutes of aimbots, I'm already at 1,000 kills. And so I feel like seeing that helps my mouse a lot more. Like I feel a lot more comfortable after aimbots.
All I'm saying is when Twist was on the come up, that dude wasn't grinding deathmatch or aimbots. He was grinding retakes. And retakes are very underrated.
Oh, Twist is like one of the players that when I see him in retakes or DM, I'm just afraid. Like I just know he's gonna bot me. Like it's just he's in DM especially. If I don't kill in the first 2 bullets, I will die 100%. Yeah, I am. Yeah, so there's nobody else in NA that does that to me. Even pros, not even other pros do that.
Ideal warm up, man. I would do like you do KZ, do a KZ session into an aimbot session, into a pre-fire session. I think pre-fire is really underrated.
Pre-fire is pretty good too. Yeah,
dude, it's because you know if like the argument against deathmatch is like, oh, you're not clearing angles properly, etc. You're just head hunting. Pre-fires is like that's the thing I'll do right before I play a game. Because it's the thing that reminds you, you know, what to clear on an entry.
Crosshair placement is more important than aim anyways.
Exactly. And KZ's chill. Like, you know, like I feel like sometimes if you just go right to the aimbots, you'll kind of like brainlessly tap at heads. Whereas KZ, it warms up your mechanics on your keyboard and your mouse simultaneously. Aimbots gives you like that fine tuning crispness of your sensitivity. And then you do the pre-fires to get like the brain and like the motion ready into, you know, your eight pug a day session. Do what you got to do, buddy.
So many pugs.
I think that's a good shout too, because like the thing with Twist is that it's not just that his aim is nuts; his crosshair placement is excellent, and like pre-firing will help that immensely.
Yeah, that pre-fire doesn't get talked about enough.
I've seen Twist in DMs with like over 300 kills. Like he just he'll play a lot. So there's
a chance he can just do whatever he wants and it works.
Yeah, you know? That's it. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it's all genetics, guys.
Right. Yeah.
No, it's just
Ziwu point in case. You know,
I think this is kind of off topic, but like in the case of Ziwu, it's like this literally transcends. Like we'll literally be having like I think this happened earlier. We're having like a serious team conversation, like. You know, like actually having like a serious talk, and someone's like, you know, like I'm not a perfect player, like none of us are, no one is, well, except for Ziwu, and that's like,
yeah,
and there's like, yeah, true,
yeah. Last piece of info, actually, or insight I can relay is that when I talked to Grim years ago, because I felt like Grim was the best aimer in MDL 3 years ago, pretty easily. I asked him about his routine, and he said that he would DM for 2 hours a day, every day, and don't think about how many kills you're getting or even your KD. Just think about putting the time into it, and putting the time into it is more important than like because if you just reach a number like or you think about your KD, you're just gonna sit in lower tunnels a lot, you know. But if you just spend 2 hours, you're not gonna the time is passing not based off of your kill feedback or anything like that. Your score, it's just like get in there, get it done, you know. So let's move on though. All right, that's it for the Patreon questions. Reminder that you can always submit those if you are a $5 patron and above. So let's move into the news, and thank you everybody who did submit those questions, of course. So I think the biggest piece of news is that karrigan is back, and they have played a single BO3. We have seen FaZe play their own group actually with Olaf, which I mean, we just talked about that already. But now that karrigan's back, they actually lost their opener BO3 to Liquid. And by the time this is published, I don't think we'll just publish this right after. So, you know, basically, what do you guys think of this? karrigan, I mean, okay. No, is FaZe a top 5 team in 3 months?
I think yes. I
Mm.
hated watching the way Cold was playing in this Liquid match, though. Like, he was put in such a hard lurk position for a lot of these rounds where he was like, his entire team's lower and he's walking out hot, and it's like a 4 versus 1. Sorry?
On Nuke?
Yeah, on Nuke.
Yeah.
And even on Mirage, like on pistol round, he's like walking out A ramp, entire team's execing B. I'm just like, you can use this player so much better than that. So I think given more time, they'll definitely be able to do a lot better, especially with Cold in like a little bit better, more impactful positions. But yeah, I think they can definitely be a top 5 team in a couple of months for sure.
I agree with that, man. I don't think you're crazy. I agree with that, man.
I think they could, but also like at the moment, being like a top 5 team or like a top 10 team or like the best team in the world doesn't have like that much value to me at the moment. It's so fucking all over the place. I mean, I definitely think they'll be good enough to be like. I think they'll be good enough at least to be a contender. I don't know where exactly I'd put them, and I don't know if they'll exactly be like at least online at the moment, like in that like Astralis big Navi tier. I don't have to like quite get to there with this. Yeah, but I think they'll be like a contender. Maybe kind of where like around complexity has been at times. Just better, more consistent. Not like towards the end of last year, but when they were actually playing well. But probably still a bit better because I think obviously with karrigan they'll have a much better system going for them.
I mean, here's my top 6 in 3 months. Okay, we have Navi, we have Astralis, we have Vitality, we have VP, we have Liquid, and we have FaZe. In no particular order.
Where's Cloud9?
Cloud9 will still only be beating complexity in 3 months.
That's good enough for me. Whatever.
Can I take a shot at that? Can I give you my 6? I'm gonna give you my 6, no order. It's gonna be Navi, Astralis, Vitality, Big, FaZe, Complexity,
and Liquid.
Everybody that works Blast has very low opinions of
Virtus
VP. I have noticed. Maniac and you are both like.
I mean,
on the VP
we haven't watched them, right? Like, that's one of the things.
Fucking VP over. Puts complexity over VP. This guy's crazy.
Hands down, man. You got Blame F. You got Config, dude. Poison's back. Oh man, just wait. I genuinely think this is Cole's year, dude. I'll extend this. We can come back to this a year from now, bro. Blame F's top 5 2021. It's gonna go up the charts.
I think this is Hampus's year for me, like out of nowhere. But
sure,
I think NIP is going to be a top 10 team in like a month or two. I think they are just awful to play against. This is the most annoying. Like they're awful in a way that no one is like really like when I watched Hampus's POV, this dude plays a different spot every fucking round. Like, can you relax? Like, just play normal, dude. Like, it's just impossible to read what they're gonna do round to round. And but I'll take a stab at it too, just for the top 6. Okay, sure. Navi, Astralis, Vitality. You know what? Yeah, sure. I can't be that bold. I have to put those 3.
Vitality. I was like, Vitality maybe could be up, but I can't not keep it.
I think they'll be like 6th though. Yeah. I think they'll be 5th or 6th. Like I don't know if they're gonna come back as well as they should. I will keep VP. I feel like they're just too consistent in all the events that they play that they're always gonna be like top 4 a lot of the time now. I think, but then the other teams, the other 2, I don't know. In 6 months,
it's hard, man. It's hard. CS is in a really interesting place right now.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Really, really tough.
I'm gonna EG maybe.
Okay, hold on. It's not that hard.
I think EG is just like one step. I'm liking what I'm seeing from EG a lot, though.
No,
like,
Mohan said that to me as well. So you're not alone in that boat, man. He was talking about EG in top 5.
Okay, so I think EG is going to make it back into the top 6 because I think they figured out what was wrong on their openers for T sides. I think they've made better game plans because when I watched EG 5 months ago, every first gun round would be a default and it looked so bad and boring. And it's just like, oh, you guys are going to mid round again. Like, have fun with that. It's so flat. But now they're just running plays on their first gun rounds a lot on T side. So it's like, oh, so you guys want to actually run strats again? That's cool. I like that.
Aggressive, man.
Yeah,
EG's aggressive rounds, dude, it looks so promising. Like a couple of Inferno rounds where like Ethan's finally got the balls to run down Banana again and just fly through fire, fight through smoke. Like that's when EG impressed me the most in their blast group, right? It was like it wasn't the results, but there was like glimpses of it within the maps.
Exactly.
Like, oh, that's top 5 potential, man.
There's more conviction with their plays because they know the initiative that they're taking in a round. And I think that a lot of teams that have faltered throughout the online era are too default centric. And I think that was EG's biggest downfall after their like early run in the beginning of 2020 is that they just started defaulting all the time. And it's like, dude, that's just, you're never going to be good online if you default all the time. Because think of VP, or I mean, not think of VP, think of Fnatic, for example, like how bad they've kind of been because they've just defaulted all the time. It's just like, you will never be consistent online, but like every good team online runs a few more plays, or they at least know where their initiative is. And that's why players like Art, players like Kinder, players like Simple will always like help a team online a lot out in my eyes, because they know the first point of contact is this guy in this round. So that helps everybody, like their mental is like the pressure on every individual is so much lower because they're not like, should I peek? Should I push this or anything like that? Because I'm just defaulting. But if Simple's on my team, I know let me just let him do stuff. You know, that's fine. Here, okay, let's talk about Apex leaving and Apex coming back. This was really strange for Vitality. They looked pretty bad, but he's back now, guys, I guess. So Scrawny, you just had an interaction with Apex on Twitter right before this started. So what did you say, and what was Apex response, or like what's the down
the gist of it? Yeah, so I woke up, it was like 9:30 this morning, reached my phone. I think within 5 minutes of waking up, I put that out there, and then I didn't really think about it much, right? Like I was worried that I was maybe dismissing what could have actually been like a very real personal issue. I think that's one thing that that the faceless anonymous critics of the CS internet can sometimes forget, is that like real shit happens to these people.
Do you mind just reading your tweet so that people that are listening because some people will be just listening on their phones or something like that.
2 seconds.
Yeah.
All right. So I tweeted, with Apex already back, it feels like his removal was a disciplinary reaction. I'm betting he acted poorly when they lost to Complexity, and the coach wasn't going to let it continue. Whatever it was, I'm happy he's back. I put in that whatever it was because, again, like, I don't know. I don't have that insider knowledge. And if something real had happened that he had to deal with, I'm thinking like family stuff, health related. Like, I don't want to chirp on that. I don't want to minimize it,
Mm-hmm.
His answer was, I'm not going to talk about it, but I had some serious personal problems, and it wasn't easy to focus on both private life and CS. Yes, I didn't have a good attitude during the match. That's true. But CS wasn't my main focus at that moment. So you could see in the comms, man. Like, I mean, we've been like, I feel like we've been watching this progression of Apex and let's be real, man. Like, we talk it up. Sometimes it gets talked up for the cameras when we're doing broadcasts. Like we've, at what point does our job as casters and analysts become analyzing player cameras in the middle of a game? Like, I'm focusing on what's going on in the server, but if I see somebody fucking standing up at halftime, leaving the room, and then the rest of the team never even like he's not communicating with teams at halftimes because he's just outside of the room, like there's clearly something going on there. So it was pretty obvious Apex was frustrated with something. My takeaway at the end of today, as of right now, is like, I'm glad it wasn't more serious. But I think that the organization, I don't know how serious it was. I'm glad it wasn't as long-term is the better way to say it. Because the organization made out this comment saying like, oh, I've removed him from the team until the end of the spring season. Which, if we're going off of the Blast season, when this announcement was made, bro, that's mid-June.
Yeah.
Like, he's supposed to be off for like 4 more months. And he's already back 9 days later.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
that's the weird thing.
So when I think like my tweet comes from that. It comes from that it comes from that place where it's like, oh, so it wasn't that serious. And therefore, what else could have been the motivation? And I remember in the announcement as well, the coach took full responsibility. He said, this was my decision. This was my decision to take him off of the starting roster. And then my brain personally goes right immediately to like disciplinary action. Like, Ziwu drops 2 kills across a map. You get pissed off. You just lost to Complexity. You lose your shit. You yell. You say something you're not supposed to. And that can't happen. That's unacceptable. So slap on the wrist. Hey man, you're off. Whatever it took him to turn around. Like, that's what I was worried about. Clearly based on his answer to me, there was something he had to go figure out. It wasn't just like he was in a bad mental place in general. There seems to be something very specific that he's already dealt with, at least to a point where he can come back and compete. So yeah, man, I'm glad it wasn't something, one of these things that takes your head out of the game for 6 months, as opposed to the 9 days that he's actually taken out for. all things considered, I wouldn't be shocked if like my team was kind of on it, right? If the coach took, I always forget how to pronounce their coach's name. Somebody want to save me? X does. Remember when he had that spat with NBK? Anybody remember that clip? Where like NBK turned around. It was after a game. He was playing. NBK was playing under him, and like NBK at the end of the game turned around and gave him the finger straight to his face.
Oh, no, I didn't remember that.
No, you don't remember that? So when that happened, like that is where my head went. I was like, it's like he's dealing with another one of those moments, and he's not going to let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows, man? That's the thing with these kinds of situations. Like, we hear it in green rooms all the time. Like, there's always moments where it's like there's players are going through stuff and the public has no clue, and the public's never gonna know because the player's not necessarily the type of person to step away themselves. And in this instance, it's clear that Vitality made that decision for him, and I'm just hopeful that like he's in a better spot genuinely already.
Yeah, I feel like your tweet wasn't even far from the truth. I think maybe the only thing that might be off was the disciplinary action. I think it might more have been that X has identified that Apex was going through something, and he was like, I'd rather you be sidelined while you deal with this. Like, I'm going to make that decision for you rather than let you continue to play or let you make that decision for yourself. Like, I think you need to take a break. So rather than it being disciplinary, I think it's just like preemptively trying to take care of the situation rather than let him deal with it all.
Mix, have you ever had to deal with a player on a team that you needed to sideline for any period of time for something like this?
Not that I can think of. In United, like there might have been a point where it came to that.
Yeah,
but it never did. Because I was never made to be the fucking coach. So
right. Yeah, but would you agree that, or would you think this is more like on the personal side or more on the like, yeah,
I'm not sure. Like, it seemed like more on the personal side. Like, you just wanted him to give him like a small break for the end of the spring series, and then like for the end of the group. But then he was like just instantly back there anyway. So I don't know. It didn't really matter.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's tough to have a cohesive team when relationships are this tumultuous. I feel like you just don't want to put this much. This is just so many external pressures now on the team that's why I'm almost like wanting to put Vitality out of my top 6 in a few months, because if they keep having issues like that, I don't know where things are going for them, even though the quality of the roster is so high. But I do think that the team feeling united needs to it's a big part of why they succeed too, along with ZywOo, obviously. So we'll see where that goes, I suppose. Let's move on to something else. So Fallen, I mean, this is something that I feel like everybody like should have saw coming, that Liquid brought in Fallen. They said Stewie's the IGL, and now Fallen is the IGL. So yeah, this is what we all thought was coming, but now it's official. So no, what's your take on this?
Absolutely expected.
Yeah,
totally. Like to the point where I think when this clip of Naf saying that Fallen was IGLing now, when that came out, and I think Drowlon, one of the big social media guys, tweeted it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Moses replied to him saying like, it's been like that the whole time. And I was like, wait, what? So then I DM'd Moses. I was like, wait, it has? And he's like, no, I was just wrong, actually. I was like, is it to the point where even they think he's been IGLing the whole time or what?
What? Oh my God.
He's like, how does the coach not know who the IGL is?
I know. Moses is like, I haven't even watched the clip, actually. So I was like, oh. Okay.
Reasonable.
But yeah, I mean, like, honestly, this is pretty expected. I didn't think that Stewie would be IGLing over Fallen for too long. Like, it makes sense in a transitional period. Also, just like, obviously, when you add someone like Fallen and Stewie's been calling and doing an okay job, like, you're still going to give it a try. And I'd rather that they let Stewie give it a try at the start rather than try and go back to him in a couple of months if they're struggling. So this way, at least they can identify like whether Stewie's able to still like take the reins of this team or not. But also, I think Stewie's just a good secondary caller. I don't think he should be the primary caller for a team like this. Like, Fallen's able to rein them in a lot better. He's also just like, he is the captain outside of the game. Like, whether you think it or not, whether you think Stewie's the IGL in the server, Fallen's the one who's going to be the one leading them outside of the server easily. Like he's going to be the one leading the practices. He's also going to be the one like who's just the motivational like leader in the team, I guess, in that sense. So I think in general this makes the most sense. I think the fact that Stewie is still calling on Nuke as well also makes a lot of sense, given that Fallen isn't the one. Fallen hasn't really played that map much. So I think Fallen even said that Stewie's probably going to keep calling on that map for the foreseeable future. So I think the way they're handling the transition between the two makes a lot of sense as well.
Yeah, I for me, there's two things about this that I want to bring up. That one, I think that this should elevate Stewie's performance finally. Like it's just been way too long for this guy to be this. He's been in the red for just ages now. And actually in their BO3 against FaZe that they just played, Stewie had a 1.24 rating, and I mean he was solid. I mean he was doing actually a good amount of work on entries and things like that. So if he gets to think less and just focus on his own game, like I'm all for this. And I think that Liquid can have like another, it's kind of like a honeymoon period. Like they might have already had one briefly if Stewie was calling, but now that Fallen's really calling, they can have another honeymoon period. They should just keep switching IGLs and keep having honeymoon periods, honestly. Just keep,
You've solved it, dude.
Keep mixing things up, you know?
Guys, I have an idea.
Yeah.
What if none of us are the IGL?
Yeah.
All you guys are doing are just describing Virtus Pro. So
yeah, what VP used to do.
Right?
Yeah, the old plow. But the other thing I have to bring up is that if Stewie doesn't start performing well and Liquid don't reach the heights that you would hope that they do, I think Stewie's then on the chopping block because he's not the opper, he's not the caller, and I'm sure he's bringing a lot as a vocal leader on the team, but you would just look to replace him with another banging fragger kind of type person, probably. So that's a little worrying for Stewie's future, or people that are fans of, you know, this Stewie core Liquid lineup. Would you guys agree that?
I think you're right, man. I think you're right about that one. Like, I don't think it's there yet. I think that like they have the pieces.
No.
I mean, Stewie definitely deserves the chance to return to it. I feel like he's almost like finally had his weight taken off because of Fallen coming into this. So, yeah, I don't know how long you give him, but I don't think he's gonna need long, dude. I think Stewie's got this. I think Liquid, like just this formula is gonna work, and it already is. My biggest question with Liquid was like, is Fallen's form gonna be good enough? Is Fallen's offing actually gonna be strong enough for Liquid to contend again? And I think after today's series versus FaZe, dude, we've already got our answer. Like Fallen looks tip top shape. So now it's just about, you know, Stewie bringing his gameplay up. Nobody's questioning Grim, Naf, or Elige, in my opinion.
No, definitely not.
So it's just like once Stewie clicks back in, and if they, again, as you transition Fallen in as the leader, you transition Stewie out and back into the fragging. Team Liquid, top 5, easy.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that for sure.
Right there with Virtus, bro.
All right, let's move to something that's a little bit more local in context. That
Can I just say one thing about Team Liquid with Fallen?
Yes,
he was practicing with the rosters since October of last year, and it took him this long. Just saying.
To IGL.
If you didn't catch it was without Twists. That was back from the Twist interview with Richard Lewis. If you guys missed that, he was on the roster practicing with them as early as October of 2019 or 2020. Sorry. So I honestly just completely forget that 2020 is a year. I don't know if you guys have that problem.
I think
it is a period of time.
I think that was only for about 2 weeks, though. To be fair.
Yeah, that's the thing. I know. I heard that too. I listened to the interview that Richard did with Twist, and it's just like if he's playing in October for like a week or two, maybe he learns some strats or something like that. But it's just like as a filler role spot thing. He might even play Twist spots. In all honesty, like they might be like, hey, we need a substitute. Can you just play these spots? Like op if you want, rifle if you want, doesn't matter. Just kill people and then.
I might be reading into the way that Twist answered the question. It just doesn't seem like it was a temporary thing. It seems like it had been going on pretty sustained for a while, and that was kind of the writing on the wall where Twists knew he was probably out of the roster.
I mean, it's just
could be anything.
When even if that was the case, just keep Stewie calling, just because it creates more consistency in the matches you still have to play. Like it just creates a weird dynamic if like you're bringing Fallen in and like you're having him practice soon, but like you're having him call, and then like you start playing some other matches with Twist, and like Stewie's calling, and then Stewie's probably still having a lot of input with Fallen. And it's like it just overcomplicates it. So where it's like we'll just have Stewie call for now, get things integrated when the time's right, then Fallen can just take over.
Yeah, I think the kind of the rocky road with Fallen first joining Liquid should be settled. I mean, it should be a little bit smoother for them for the foreseeable future. And yeah, I mean, I think give them a month or something, and then evaluate, is this roster doing what they should be doing? Because I think all of us are pretty fair about saying that we think this should be a top 6 team in the coming months. So if they're not, that's where things just get a little bit concerning for me. But I think that they have a really good shot at becoming that.
Also, like on a side note, I think their map pool is just going to be insane after they have a little bit more time to develop it, because Fallen can now call on Train for them, which was one of the big reasons they didn't play that map, was Nitro felt uncomfortable calling on it.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can add Train back into their map pool, Stewie was always pretty good on that map. Elige is pretty nuts on that. So I think if they're able to add a map like Train to their pool and they're able to play basically every map, they are going to be very difficult to veto against.
That is,
map, dude. I just veto Vertigo. Never have to play again.
that is an interest, dude. Wait, Mix, you wanted to ban Mirage and now you want to ban Vertigo? Yeah, you can't ban 2 maps all the time.
Can you just get rid of both of them? They both suck. I think I hate Vertigo more than I do Mirage now.
Well, I'm there with you, but I actually want to bring up, I looked this up actually because I was curious last night. So how many times Fallen has actually called on Nuke? Because they played it today actually against FaZe, and they didn't really need to play too much of a T side. They went 6-1 on T side, then the game ended. But they had a good CT. And Fallen just went crazy on that. And I looked, and Fallen has only played 32 Nuke maps out of 1,360 maps in his career, and now 8 of those are with Liquid. So one, like he's basically played like it almost feels like he's played a majority of his Nuke maps now with his newest roster. So I don't know how his calling is going to be, but I feel like once he figures out the map and like mid-rounding a little bit more, I agree. Note that I think that this is a really frightening team, because if they can just ban based off of their opponents, that just gives you a leg up in a veto every time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This will be the last news topic here, and it's something that if people are more just, international listeners, they might not have caught this, but it's something that was just ridiculous in the NA space, is Timbermen. And I never thought I'd be saying that name on It's Server Time podcast, but this team, I guess, no, I want you to take this one on what was the big debacle with these kids, and basically why they should be used as an example for people that are coming up in the scene for the future.
Okay, basically the core of this team of Shane, Dare, and Snav have been like notorious in North America for basically being very toxic in pugs. They just go around and they talk shit to basically everyone that they play against. Like, I would say about like 2 weeks before this controversy, I was playing with a couple of friends. We ran into them and we were winning like, I don't know, 16-9 at the end or something. And they're saying like, you guys,
they try hard. Ooh.
Yeah, it's like if we wanted to scrim, we would be playing a scrim right now.
Yeah.
Like, come on, guys. Like, come on, grow up a little bit here.
I remember I always remember this mindset, like even just like this, just from like this random thing. I used to play pugs with like Valens and like Vice and like some other people. And like he's like playing a 5-man, and I was surprised because like I would play with him and Valens was literally like practically calling and like these matchmaking games, like telling people what to do, like suggesting like things we could do, like like running actual like strats and doing things. And I was like, I remember I messaged him one time. I was like, yeah, dude, that's why I like playing with this groups, because like you guys are actually like trying. And he's and it's like his his response was just like, if I didn't want to take it serious, I would just go like play another game. Like I would.
Yeah, exactly.
Counter-Strike is like, winning is fun. Like that's why you play.
Yeah, people only say that shit. Like, if I wanted to try, if they're losing.
Yeah,
if those guys were winning and you were trying hard, then they that comment doesn't come out, man. It's the I wasn't trying deal, which full fart they were hands down. They were trying, man.
I'll expand a bit more on the specific topic at the end of this, but quickly to finish off basically what these guys did is that on top of them just being toxic in their pugs, they're also like, there have been clips of them saying the N-word, not all of them obviously, but like some of them saying the N-word, some of them saying like homophobic slurs. And this has been like a recurring issue for years at this point. And essentially what happened is some person that they played against in a regular pug tweeted out a clip or an image of one of the players saying something about them, like, "Oh, you weren't raped as a kid" or something, which is like really fucked up to say. Like, it's really fucked up.
He defended that sentence, by the way, and like they did that little interview after, and he literally defended that.
Yeah. So basically, that picture got tweeted out, and then Alige saw it because it blew up so much. And he's like, wait, these kids are still playing in like premier FPL level? Like, they've been talking so much shit for years, and they're just genuinely like, they say racist stuff all the time. And from there, once Alige drew light to it, like a lot of other people who'd run into them started bringing up like clips or instances where they'd had issues with these players. And then I think Simple also just got involved, and he's like, these kids aren't shit or something. Like, he said something that was like, that's why these guys will never make it. And from there, I think FACEIT initially handled it really weirdly. Like, while they were investigating, they banned one of the players for a week. And then they issued like permanent bans. I just like, if you're going to be investigating them, there's no need to ban them for one of them for a week. Just do it all at once. Right. But they ended up permanently banning them from FPL. And then I believe this past weekend on Sunday or Monday, ESEA also banned all of the players involved. So that would be Shane Dare, Snav, Kel, Havoc, and then also a couple of the other players who were in a paste bin that Alige tweeted out, where it was screenshots from their quote unquote private Discord, where there's hundreds of instances of some of these players saying racial and homophobic slurs. So like, moral of the story, A, don't be an asshole, but B, don't be racist and don't be homophobic. It's like, it's not very difficult, for one. And just a note to like players who are coming up, like, the shit you say will come back, and it really isn't difficult to just try and be a better person. Like, it's not a difficult task, and I get that people make mistakes, but then when you make those mistakes and someone tells you that, hey, this is not good, you got to actually take that criticism on board and try and be better from it.
I think there's like it's very different for players like this to say it within their team. Like, I'll pick like, example we can all pick. Like, Simple, for example, was really toxic to his teammates in the past, and probably even some people he played FPL with, but it didn't border, like, actually he has said some things that are like kind of bad, and that's why he's been banned on Twitch before. But he's not doing it to like everybody he plays with all the time, like in all chat or whatever. It's more like the relationships you have within your team are very different than the relationships you have with other people external to you. Like, it's so what you say to your teammates you can actually kind of like, I don't condone any of that kind of behavior, but I think you can actually say some pretty mean things to your teammates if it's like for the sake of trying to improve as a team. But if you're just saying it to random people in pugs, it's like, you're going to get a reputation that's just like really bad and is damning forever.
It's the weirdest fucking thing I've ever heard someone say. And it's the entire reason pretty much they got like caught, I guess, and like got this mess with like, all they had to do was not tell someone they weren't raped as a kid in a public.
Let's just stop saying that. Let's just stop quoting them in general.
Pretty easy to avoid, I think.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like,
it's one of those situations where it's like, I had never heard of them before. I will never hear from them ever now. Odds are that kind of behavior only fucking manifests itself because it's a group mentality. It becomes normalized within their dynamic. You find, if you're the one guy in a room of people saying this kind of shit, I mean, there's an aspect of just like not being very well socialized in real life either. I think like a lot of this behavior can go unchecked on the internet. And then when you find other people who do the same shit, then you start doing it together. Then you find a third person, fourth person, etc. And like, it manifests, man. In their private Discord, there was hundreds of instances. It's like, because they're sure as fuck not doing any of these things publicly, or else we would already stamped this crap out, So I feel like this is one of those moments where like if we compare them to like a fucking hornet's nest or something, it just it went unchecked. It was one of those ones like growing in the walls, and then Alige just ripped the wall down and everything's gone, you know, and like
Came
it's just
through like the Kool-Aid man.
yeah, dude. It's like it's evidence of just like how insignificant these guys were, but I'm glad it got stamped out because it needs to be. Let them be the examples for anybody else who wants to come up in CS:GO, man. Like,
the biggest issue that like I had with the whole situation was just like how how intensely they were like defending everything they said. But I will give like at least one of them credit. I don't know if any of the others did, but at least I know at least one of them like backed up and made like a genuine apology.
That was Kel.
Yeah. So yeah, at least one or two of them like did make like genuine apologies after the fact, like, and didn't just like make like meme apologies like some of them were doing, and that just pretending like none of it was a big deal. So.
And there's no redemption.
Rek and Kel both made like preemptive apologies, and those were actually genuine.
Yeah, there's no redemption if you don't try to walk it back. Even when you do walk it back, there's always that question of like, are you apologizing because you mean it, or are you apologizing because you got caught?
Yeah,
it's like the things that they did. It's not like these are like the worst things in the world to ever be doing, especially like dumbass fucking teenagers. Like even I like used to be in pugs, like couldn't control my fucking emotions, and used to just be like a toxic shithead, right? It's like it's just a case of okay, you got caught. You're gonna have to serve a punishment either way. You don't like fucking back up and like try to defend it. Like this isn't like some like irredeemable thing that you did. You can just like apologize for it. Say, yeah, I was a fucking idiot. I was surrounded by idiot friends, and I'll try to, I'm gonna try to improve as a person, surround myself with better people. All that shit was wrong, and I'm just gonna try to be a better person from now on. And like,
especially if some of them are,
yeah,
if some of them aren't backing up, then it's way easier to blame them. Then it's even easier to apologize if you're like, look, it was really this guy's fault. Like,
and he doubled down on it.
Yeah, so, yeah, exactly, man. Back up.
All right. Let's move on from that. Let's move to something. We got just a couple more little segments here. So
quickly before we move on, like slightly tangential, but just like some of the attitude that I see, not from these guys specifically, but just from like players in North America. For example, that whole like, oh, is this a scrim or something? I'm just like, that's the way you guys should be playing the game, guys. Like each game that you play, you should be trying to win. Like that's how they play in Europe a lot of the time. That's the reason those players are like they improve so steadily, and the reason why players from North America struggle when they try playing against teams in Europe. Like a pug in Europe can contest against like decent teams because in North America because they just have better fundamentals from playing the game right. It shouldn't be a detractor to play the game properly at all times.
A lot of the best players, like most of them probably like simple, cold, like for instance, like it's literally they only have one mode when they're playing Counter-Strike, whether it's like a fucking pug, FPL, like a match or scrim. It's like they're going to be trying. They're going to be like trying to direct things, like trying to actually play, good CS, talking to their teammates, shit like that. So it's like, I don't know. It's just such a dumb mentality that will never take you anywhere if you're like acting like, oh, this doesn't matter.
Yeah. I remember in like Thorin's reflections with Get Right, the more recent one he did, about how Get Right was like a try hard. He was labeled a try hard in the community or something like that. And it's just like how people thought grinding demos or something like that was being, just trying too hard or some shit. It's just like, what? Like, please, dude, for the sake of our enjoyment in loving this game, try harder. I want people to be better. So use that pug the best and most efficient way possible and try something new that maybe you can integrate into your strat book or some shit like that. Like, yeah. Okay, I think we wrap that one up. So let's get into just final. We'll throw it out there. We already did some predictions here, but we'll just do some more Katowice centered ones. So let's do this. I'll go around in a circle. I think 6 teams qualify for the IEM playoffs. And then so you're going to say those 6 teams and then tell me who you think are the teams that are going to win it and come in second. Let's go with Scrawny first. Who's your top 6 here?
Sure. All right,
and you can use the bracket so far. That's already like
yeah.
Don't turn away from the results that have happened so far.
Right, man. Sorry, hold on. So I've got coming out of Group A. I've got Astralis, Heroic, and Big. I say Heroic just because they're in a place where they have to win one best of 3 to get out at this point. Right? It's the top 2 from the group.
It's against Spirit though.
It is against Spirit, and I think they've got that. I've got that, bro. They've just beaten Big. I don't think Spirit's gonna take it. It's too much pressure. Spirit's gonna crack, and we're gonna get like a little dream run here from Heroic.
Online drinking Coke. They got this.
We'll see, man. 1BO3 okay. Heroic. They need it, I think, more than anybody. So I say they beat Spirit. They go through. Big runs it back through the lower bracket, unless Evil Geniuses has a surprise.
Okay.
So
Okay, who's your
Astralis,
group B?
Heroic, Big. Group B, Liquid. They only have to beat a Wounded Vitality tomorrow. Navi. And I think Vitality comes out of the lower bracket. If not Nip. So to reiterate, top 6. Astralis, Heroic, Big. Liquid, Navi, Vitality. Navi take the event. Astralis come second.
Bold predictions over here.
Okay. Well, the Big running it back one is actually pretty. I think that's pretty bold. That's like a tough. That's not an easy accomplishment for them.
Now that lower bracket's pretty stacked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Note, who's your 6?
All right, so I'll take Astralis and Heroic from Group A.
Okay.
And then out of the lower bracket, it's a hard one, but you know what? We're gonna say EG make it out. They're gonna have a little run through the lower bracket after losing to Astralis. And then out of Group B, we're gonna take Liquid. We're gonna take Navi, and we're gonna take VP as those 3 teams coming out.
Those are good.
Scrawny once again criminally underrating VP, by the way.
Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see.
They've had a long way to go, though. It's not easy to predict them either because they haven't.
I
Even
refuse to believe Sanji will be in a top 5 team. I just refuse it. I can't.
Weren't they top?
They're already top 5. Aren't
They were top 5 already. They were
but actually
literally-
top 5. Like,
They're already top 5 right now.
at this event, I think this event. You look at the ranking in this event. This event is going to change up the rankings big time, right? Like there hasn't been VP hasn't had overlap with a lot of these teams, man. At least not from what I'm casting. I'm super biased. I only cast a certain bit of the calendar. I'm contractually obliged. I'm not allowed to watch anything from ESL.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's not true.
I use that excuse too.
Yeah.
and then winning the event, I will say that it's also going to be Navi. I don't know if Astralis makes it to the final, honestly. I think they might get knocked out in the semis. Maybe they might get knocked out in the semis if they get like a interesting bracket draw. Then again, if they get drawn against Liquid, it's a free run to the finals for Astralis. So yeah, I'll say Navi, and then I guess we'll go with maybe we'll have Liquid as the runner-up.
Okay. Mix. Who's your?
All right, so about tomorrow's matchups, both of you are wrong. So the first teams to go through in Group A are going to be EG and Spirit.
I like it.
Astralis will make a run through the lower bracket. I have confidence in them to still do that. From the other group, this one's a lot tougher. Liquid, I'm just going to go with Liquid because I'm a fucking fanboy.
Yep.
Liquid for sure. Man, who after that, though? That's fucking tough. Navi, I think Navi will get through. And then I'm actually, for the third team in Group C, I'm actually going to go with NIP. Well, do I want to go with NIP? Actually, no.
I know, right? Do you ever really want to bet on NIP? It feels bad to do it every time.
They'll be good, but I don't think they'll be quite good enough to get through Navi or VP, whoever they have to play after FURIA. I think they'll beat FURIA, but I don't know. The next team coming out of that is so tough. I'll just be a fanboy once again. I'll go with FaZe. So,
the whole lower bracket run here.
Yep.
Okay.
Liquid, Navi, FaZe. I'm predicting FaZe is going to go on some honeymoon period shit. Also, I mean, it's just one of the first big events back from break, so and it's online, so who the fuck knows, really. Winning the event, I have absolutely no idea. Anything I say is literally just guessing. Dude, who do I want to see wins this event, though? I don't want to say Navi. That's too easy. It's going to be someone else. That's my feeling, right?
Too easy.
I'm waiting for you to make sense, bro.
Why is Mix the De Bears of our podcast? The put up or shut up De Bears of our podcast.
This has to take the hipster opinion a lot of the time.
If you really think Mantu is better than Zywoo, you'll say it right
Yeah.
here. You make it out.
Mantu over my team instead of Zywoo. I never said Mantu was better than Zywoo, okay? I'm not brain dead, all right?
Yeah.
Winning the event, though, fuck me, dude. I literally have no idea.
Just go for the bold pick, then. Just go for...
All right, you know what? Fuck it. FaZe, they're coming through the lower bracket.
Oh my
Roller,
God.
dude. They're going to be fucking feeling it. and then they're gonna steamroll through it. They're gonna get like some like lucky bracket draw or something. They're gonna win the event, and Navi will come second. Big play twists is just gonna be too much for them.
Okay, all right. Is the grand final BO5 or is it BO3? It's 5. It's
BO5.
BO5. It's BO5.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Honeymoon phase.
I
Okay.
don't like BO5s. Just putting it out there.
Because it's like I almost
kinda-
want to say Spirit, but it's like, can I really see Spirit winning? Like for some reason that just sounds wrong.
They just won a DreamHack, dude. They just won
We're
a
gonna lose
DreamHack.
tomorrow, just so you know. It's
Okay. All right.
DreamHack super comparable to IEM Katowice with all top 20 teams. By the way,
Hey, they came out on top of EG and Big there, so I mean, they didn't beat them necessarily, but they did better. They placed better than them. So.
Listen, I go for like the hipster predictions because predictions are just like a complete crapshoot
That's
anyway.
true.
Most of the time, so it's like, what do I have to lose, really?
True. Okay, I'll do mine. I think the Group A teams will be Astralis, EG, and Spirit. Also, I don't know if I really think EG is going to beat Astralis, but I think I'm actually confident in them making it through the lower bracket. If they don't, so I think either way, it'll be those 3 teams. Group B, I will have to go with Liquid. Got to do it. Then, for the other teams, gotta do Navi, and then. Yeah, it's just so boring, but I just have to do VP. I just love that team too much. And it's like, as a fan, and I actually do think they will probably beat everybody. So
Vitality?
Yeah, Vitality is probably they're going to be their toughest opponent in lower bracket round 3. So that'll be close, but it would be
surprised to see Vitality just pull like a complete like just kidding and then like just come and win the event.
You know, it's possible. It's possible, but
if it's not Navi Astralis, it's going to be Navi Vitality finals. I think.
Ooh, yeah, I just can't pick the top ranked teams and just be like, that's how I'm ordering my event.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I like doing for some reason. I don't know. It also just makes the event more interesting to me when I just make some like weird predictions. I just want to see if any of it comes true.
Yeah, exactly. Because then you have something to ride for. You have something, to watch it for.
Set yourself up with the excuses early on, Mix. You got it.
Right.
Now I'm fucking excited to watch FaZe. You know, like I can't wait.
Yeah, true. I think so the 3 teams. Yeah, I'll just say all the 6 again. Astralis, EG, Spirit, Liquid, VP, Navi, and then I think the winning team will be. I'll do Astralis win, but VP come in second. Yeah, that's how I go bald on this.
Here's my question though: is do EG get through because they beat Astralis tomorrow, or do they make a lower bracket run? Because my theory for EG at the moment is that if they don't beat Astralis tomorrow, I actually don't see them getting out of the group.
Yeah, it's gonna be tougher. You're right. I agree with that. Yeah, but I think they can. I think they can win.
I'd like to add that I've heard and spoken more of VP in this podcast than the last 6 months of my life.
Kindar on like 2 of our
I'm like, I feel like I'm not in on something. I feel like I've been under a rock or some shit. Like I just woke up and
they just won
I've missed
CS
something
Summit.
massive.
They won CS Summit without dropping a map. They beat Big at Flashpoint. They beat OG at Flashpoint. They beat Mad Lions. They beat everybody. I mean, they beat everybody.
Nothing that you said, How has impressed me.
But
other than like the big victory.
Well, okay, CS Summit not dropping a single map is crazy. Like their map pool is insane. Like it's just they can play everything. So that
Who did they play against?
they play. I mean, they can beat. The thing is, they can beat like they beaten Navi before. Also,
all right, Pernoga, you're the voice of reason around here, aren't you, man? You come from the shadows.
Yeah.
No, he's just as big.
I have to make Mauisnake backpedal.
So
live
at
on
Summit,
recording.
they beat Nip twice, Furia, Mausports, and Fnatic.
Yeah,
Old Nip, old Mausports with karrigan on his way out the door.
And Fnatic just bombed out of the event in the play-in.
About karrigan.
And Fnatic
karrigan
is
was
just
playing out of his
tier
mind. What do
2
you
team
mean?
now. So
Dude, they were playing with like no pressure fucking exit event. Those are the events that people
yeah, and they still couldn't beat VP of all teams. Just
came in and shut them down. I said, "Fuck
yeah." VP just, I mean, the way that they win also is just so they just dominate people. Like it's just you always feel like VP is in control of the match. Like that's what it always, and it's so easy to root for a team that takes way more initiative. Like the reason I can never really like vote for NIP is just like because they play such a reactive style a lot of the time, other than Hampus, and it's just like okay, so you guys could kind of see what they were doing, and then you got some key kills or multi-frags. Great, good job for you guys. But then it's like VP, it's like, holy shit, I just saw this like master plan come together, and the way that you Kinder found the entry, and James clutched it out, and everybody in the mid round just did exactly what they were supposed to and played this perfect strategy. It's just fun. It's just fun to root for that. Like I can't. Yeah, when it's that obvious. It's why everybody liked 2018 Astralis or whatever, because it's like you could see how good their teamwork was because it's just so obvious. They threw that perfect flash. They had that perfect crossfire. It's like, it's just so fun. All right.
Hold on. Let me do a second set of predictions since we're subverting expectations with our predictions. I guess it's going to be Astralis, Spirit, Gambit. Astralis, Spirit, Gambit. We're going to have FURIA, Liquid, and Nip making it through Group B.
Damn, we're just going to pick every team now.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, might as well take the bottom 6 teams from the event rather than the top 6, right?
Okay, I'm going to say Wisla, Krakow, Renegades, and Fnatic.
Let's do some WWE shit and like, you know what? Halfway through the playoffs, Fnatic makes a return, dude.
That's like literally what ESEA did for the Global Challenge or whatever. It's like VP voted in or something like that. Remember that like 3 years ago?
And wait for it, it's Fnatic, but with Olaf and Flusha back.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
All aboard.
Because it's like, Note's making like a fucking second set of predictions, and then he's gonna be like, "Wow,
I know.
was right." Wow.
There's no insurance. You guys can't have insurance predictions.
That's me making my one and only set of predictions, trying to be different.
Listen, I'm just trying to subvert expectations with my predictions. You know.
Yeah. I think. Okay. All right. Let's just move on to the question of the week. This prediction segment has gone way off the rails. So this is something I was thinking about when I was watching, just in broadcast in general. Because you look at the stats there on the HUD, and you see kills, you see assists, you see deaths, you see ADR, and I thought to myself, like, why do I care about assists? I don't, because assists is just 41 damage or more, and then someone else gets the kill. So unless that number is like 9 or higher, I literally have never cared about it. So I was wondering, what stat would you guys want to see on these broadcast HUDs that isn't assists? So pick any stat. I don't like there's anything that your brain can come up with. So let's go with mix. What stat do you want to see instead of assists?
I don't really know, to be honest. Like ADR is like the obvious one, but I don't really want to say that. I feel like it's not. Like ADR is pretty decent, but also I feel like it's usually displayed in like the bottom thing. I don't know.
Okay, so if it's not ADR, then what would your pick be?
Dude, I almost want to say
team.
Flash.
Yeah, okay, that's a good one. That is like
flash assists. I want to have like each player's individual flash assists, and then like have like another tally that totals up like the total amount. See, like I think that'd actually be good as long as like you can like just like a total amount of flash assists shown somewhere. I don't know. I generally think that could be a pretty cool thing to look at, like mid game. You can see a team has like eventually like you get used to the stat, and like eventually people would understand what's like a high number in a game, what's like a low number, and be able to see like, holy shit, these guys have like 30 flash assists. Like they're just insane.
That's ownage. Yeah. Okay. No. What's your stat?
So for my stat, I'd do either KPR or DPR, so kills per round or deaths per round. Just because I think it gives like. It's a stat that people don't see unless they go to like the detailed statistics page on HLTV.
Yeah.
And in general, it's like it gives you a pretty good idea of how a player is contributing per round. It's like the ADR equivalent in a sense, but a little bit more impactful. And it also, for example, like if you're not going to show assists, showing KPR is going to give you at least like a better idea of the overall impact from a player. Like if they're sitting there with 10 kills at halftime, but then they have like 0.85 KPR, they're obviously doing better than just having 10 kills in a half. So yeah, I think DPR is also a good shout, but I think it would be a little bit less beneficial than something like KPR. Still like DPR as a stat though.
Okay, Scrawny, what's your stat you would want to see?
Going down that same road as Note, I think personally, to me, it's first kills.
Yep.
Ooh,
first kills.
First kills really good. That's really good.
And if we do like a slash, dude, it's very easy to do first kills / first deaths.
Oh, jeez, people are gonna get flamed.
Yeah, because like when we're working at Blast right now, we've got a web browser that just keeps live stats every single round. It's updated. I think sometimes it's at DreamHacks too. It's like, I don't know if that there's a stats helix. Point being, every single round you refresh it and you're getting tons of stats, man. And that's the one that I feel like I was using the most at the most recent event was first kills, first deaths. It keeps track of like first kills, first deaths, op kills, deagle kills, clutches, each multi-kill, etc. And clutches I feel like is another fun one to remember, but there's so few clutches in a game that you can normally remember them on like off the top of your head. More or less, right? Like if they're very impactful clutches, then you don't really need a stat to remember. But first kills, first deaths is a really big one. Obviously, you kind of, especially if you get somebody with a ton of kills and he's also got a shit ton of first kills, you're like, all right, this guy's smashing. Like DPR kind of tells you, right? Except for it's like, setting the precedent with man advantage is really, really important. So I'm all in on that one, man.
It also helps you show like the impact of certain players, like Yakinder or Art, for example.
I think for mine, I was kind of leaning towards flash assists or enemies flashed. So because I feel like it's just like if you see a player who's 0-6, but then you see they have 15 enemies flashed, I just know that they're doing something for their team, and so it would always give them contribution.
You go back and look at the demo and it's like Dust 2 and they're just like flashing.
They're flashing for everybody long, and then they're the last person with no nades, and it's just like, okay, what are they supposed to even do? So I think it gives better context to their role.
Dude, there used to be like a stat or something. Is that like one of the stats in like it's like one of the stats on like the scoreboard, right? And, like,
yeah. So you can just pull it from the scoreboard. Yeah. Enemies flash.
Like, I used to like playing pubs with friends. I would just farm the fuck out of that stat. You just toss flashes over mid mirage at the start. You're not doing anything.
Yeah.
But you point out like your enemy's flash that you're like, dude, look at my flashes. They're insane.
Yeah. I think if I saw, okay, so my answer would be enemies flash, but I think a stat that I want to see actually at the end is I actually like how RWS is calculated. I think RWS is surprisingly decent for certain pro games because, dude, honestly, I don't want to, like, when I see, and I'll just say it, like, if I see Rops with 25 kills, but I know that 15 of those kills are when he was just getting people as they were exiting, like, his RWs would be like 5 in this game. So I don't want to see it live on a scoreboard, I'll say, but I would like to see it in an HLTV. Like, I'll say that. I actually think RWs contributes in some way to the impact a player had, but I don't think it's perfectly calculated.
Such bad memories when you're speaking of RWS, like trying to break. Suck at CS, so it's like trying to break 10 in a month was like the fucking goal.
Well, I won a knife for getting top RWs in a month, so like, I love the stat.
I don't like RWS as a stat just because I don't think it gives like an accurate representation of a player's impact in a match, because it only calculates based on whether you win the round or not. Right. I would rather have something like an impact rating shown. Because
impact rating's weird too, though, because it's like multi-frags and clutches are valued high on it, and it's not like I would want something that's like how much economic damage was dealt, actually, like a stat that shows me that. Like, because I want to know if someone's farming ecos, like it's just like, dude,
sure, like total money denied or something like that. Like,
taken away. Like how much money was on that person when they died, including the nades that they had. Because like if they killed them in the beginning of the round, that's more valuable than the end of the round a lot of the time. So, I mean, maybe not because if it's a clutch, but you know what I mean. Like,
but on top of that, that's why RWS is like not a great stat, because if you're picking off 3 people and you still lose the round, hey, look, you're getting 0 RWS.
Those are the worst moments playing ESEA when you open up a round. It's like you get like 3 entries and it's like a 4v2, and then you're watching your team slowly throw away the round.
But I think in pro games that doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, it would be a stat in pro games.
I think RWs is a more valuable stat in pro games than it is for pugs. In pugs, it's just like just run out there and shoot everybody. Like that is literally how you get.
It always felt like the first 5 rounds you don't fucking see anyone, so your RWs is at like 2. And then, and then you get 3 entries and your team loses the 4v2 and you're just insta tilted because your RWs are bad.
Yeah, I still would just pick enemies flash though. I feel like it just helps tell a really good picture for what that person is doing. Because I think the worst thing is when a player goes 007. Like, why the fuck is that second 0 even there? It's assist. Like, I literally don't care.
Assists are useless.
It is the most useful.
You never cast assists. You never talk about them.
Dude, he's got 8 assists, bro. Like, no, he's popping off.
Dude, it's been so good. It's like you have like kills, enemies flashed, and then like deaths.
Yeah.
And it's like and this guy's like 007. You're like, holy shit, this guy's actually not
Yeah,
doing
that's useless.
Yeah,
That's
right.
useless. Yeah. But if it's 015-7, I'm like, okay, I know what he's getting himself into, so that's fine. Okay.
I got one for you guys. What would you think about something like a stat that tells you how many times you were traded? Because this is a situation where obviously it only makes sense on T side. It's very niche in terms of its application if you're trying to figure out like an entry fragger's position and how successful they are. So it's probably something for the scoreboard or something that you can access at the end of the half or the end of the round. But I feel like that would be super useful to tell you like what's gone wrong on a T side or what's gone really right if you see a runaway T side and it's like, oh, they're getting traded kills every single time. Obviously, you can just remember that if you're casting it or something, but that would be something that would be great to have in my back pocket if I'm trying to analyze like how a team is finding success or failure.
I think that would give a lot of credit to entry fraggers that are dying without getting kills because, like you're saying, I mean, if they're traded, then they're also making space for their team, so that's always valuable. I agree.
Hell yeah!
All right, that's gonna bring us to a conclusion here. So we're gonna give everybody a chance to plug whatever's coming up for them. So Scrawny, what is going on with you? What do you want to plug? What do you want to tell the listeners?
Not too much, man. I'm a little bit off the cast for a little while, so I'm just gonna be at home, gonna be streaming basically daily, unless I've got podcasts. So yeah, just follow on Twitter, follow on Twitch, watch me play some Danger Zone, watch me play some CS. I've come home and told myself I'm gonna leave. The next time I leave, I'm gonna be way better at movement. That's what I'm focusing on. Yeah, Launders told me I wasn't making the cut. I'm on the chopping block, So yeah, man, just playing a bunch of CS, hanging out, playing games, doing and watching as much CS as I can from the sidelines.
Random question though, when's the last time you played a pug?
Last time I played a pug?
Or Note? Who are you talking? All of us?
All of me? Two days before I left Europe, so like 4 days ago.
Last night?
Yeah, I played pugs and scrims yesterday. So yeah.
Dude, what the fuck? It has literally been about a year for me since the last pug I played.
Oh, well, I kind of go in waves of pugs.
Never been happy.
I thought Maui was about to go like, we can still make this work, Mix, I guess. Like, I
was playing games with Maniac and Pimp, so like I wasn't gonna pass that up, It's like the closest I've ever been to being a pro, man. I felt it.
That's how I felt when I got to play pugs with like Valens and Vice, and then like Elige joined one time, and like I was playing Inferno A site with Elige, and I still have great memories of that, and that'll be my greatest Counter-Strike playing experience.
Hasn't played a pug since.
Yeah, I was like, this is good. I'm out.
Yeah.
No, what are your plugs this evening?
I should have this feature on Junior coming out anytime, like literally any moment. As soon as Louise finishes editing it, so you can check that out on HLTV. I also did an interview with Peter last week.
Oh yeah,
which came out later than I expected, but you guys can check that out as well. And just follow me on Twitter. That's about it.
Mix, what's your plug?
Just Cloud9, I guess. The usual.
Sweet. No player? You usually pick a player.
Have I shouted out oSee? I'll shout him out again.
You've shouted him out at least half of the pods. So yeah. All right.
Can I say?
Yeah. I'll plug I'll plug the thing I'm working on with Dinko, which I think is pretty sick. The post plan after show. That
check that out still.
That's sick quality, man.
That turned out surprisingly well. Like for just an idea, just we put together and everything. Like Dinko worked with that producer and they came out with a lot of great stuff. I was giving feedback to I think everybody was giving feedback. I don't know what the correspondence between Haka and Blea was before it happened or anything, but I think we did a really solid job. And for a pilot episode, I think that's something to check out. So if you guys haven't seen Dinko's YouTube channel, or just check him out on Twitter, I think it's probably in his pinned or something like that. The fact that we did that episode, that stuff's really sick. Be on the lookout for post plant episodes. The next one will be when Katowice ends. And other than that, of course, just keep if you guys want to support this financially speaking, and just fund the fact that we're on Spotify and Stitcher and Apple Podcasts. Submit your questions via Patreon. And be sure to listen to the audio versions as well on the podcast platforms I just mentioned. I think there's another one that just emailed me about, fuck it, dude. I don't even know if anybody's using that platform, so who cares? Whatever. Listen to it. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel because I'm putting out slightly higher quality stuff, I guess. Who knows? Who knows? Am I? Is it higher quality? I don't even know, dude. I'm just putting things out when I feel like it. I just put burger tier list. I just do anything I feel like on this damn YouTube channel. That's probably why it hasn't grown to the where it could be. But that's it. That's it. All right, that's gonna be it for episode 13. Thank you so much, Scrawny, for coming on. You're a great guest. This was
Cheers,
actually
man.
Tons of fun.
My pleasure.